Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's going on, everyone, and welcome to a big Game Day Friday edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. I was hoping it was going to be a fun Friday today on the show, but I will forgive you if some of you are having a freak-out Friday today because we got some bad news this morning from the Winnipeg Jets. And listen, this news is percolating around the National Hockey League as well as the defending Hart Trophy winner and three-time Vezina winner, Jets MVP Connor Hellebuyck, is going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks. He had what is described as a minor procedure on his knee with a 4 to 6 week recovery for the All-Star netminder, which means that moving forward for tonight's game against the Carolina Hurricanes and for the next month and a bit, it's going to be Eric Comrie's crease. Thomas Milic has been called up as well. He will back up tonight and on the weekend, and presumably, unless Comrie goes 15 or 16 straight games, the youngster will get his first taste of NHL action for the Winnipeg Jets coming up over the course of this next month. Obviously, there's many angles to this, what it means for Winnipeg, both tonight and over the course of the next quarter of the season. And we'll hit every angle of that. Mike McIntyre is going to join us. We will hear from Scott Arneil as well coming up before we welcome in the play-by-play voice of the Carolina Hurricanes, Mike Maniscalco. And as I mentioned, Mike McIntyre, the Winnipeg Free Press, a little later on. Big weekend in the NFL as well. Lee Hacksaw Hamilton will join us later on. Josh Allen nearly got killed last night. That was a 8 sacks by the Houston Texans. It was a very, very tough night at the office for the Buffalo Bills. So we'll touch on the NFL a little bit later on. But listen, the biggest story today is that Connor Hellebuyck is out for the next 4 to 6 weeks. And that will be sort of dominating the conversation. There is another big story today in sports. And Remo, you might even want to pull this up as I let everybody know. Real sad day on the local soccer scene in that Valor FC announced today that the club has suspended operations. I'll just read you the statement. Valor FC extends its deepest gratitude to its fans, especially its loyal season ticket members, corporate partners, the Red River Rising supporters group whose passion, commitment, and matchday energy have defined the club since day one. The club also thanks all players, coaches, staff for their dedication and hard work. Any contractual obligations towards all players and staff to the end of the current calendar year will be fulfilled by the club. All players under contract with Valor past the 2025 season will automatically become free agents or return to their parent clubs. Any fans holding credits in their ticketing accounts will receive full refunds. The Valor ticketing team will contact account holders directly with details and next steps. Listen, this is a horrible news for Winnipeg soccer and really soccer in Canada, especially, going into a year where Canada's hosting the World Cup. And the CPL was always thought to be what this country needed to take our soccer program to the next level. We've now got the NSL, the National Women's Soccer League, which just finished up their first year. The league had done well in other markets. It just never really clicked here in Winnipeg. So that's some breaking news as well on the local sports scene that we'll touch on. I'm sure Mike will have a take on that. But RIP to Valor FC. Enjoyed going to those games. Really hoped that it would get more traction here, and it just didn't really happen. And because of that, we've heard the announcement today that the Valor FC, after I don't know what the total losses were, but they certainly were not making money, has suspended operations. All right, we're going to get back to the Jets and this Hellebuyck story, tonight's game, and more. First off, though, a big thanks to the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at CoolBet. Shout out to everyone that joined us live this morning at 10 a.m. for our WST winners NFL Week 12 pick show with myself, Pat Gregoire, and Jake Bowen-Moss. That's up on the YouTube channel if you haven't checked it out already. You can watch that after the show. Get your picks ready and ride with us on a few. We'll have a lot of nice parlays and stuff up that we cooked up over at CoolBet. I also want to thank Princess Auto, Chud's Powersports, Clean Line, Manitoba Battery, Rolly's Transfer, St. Vital Dental Center, Canadian Club, and Uptown Alley, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, Little Brown Jug. We'll get to a why not question of the day for not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray. And, of course, fan feedback for our friends at fansfirst.ca. Let's get Michael Remis in here. And, Remo, I wasn't expected just as we got on the air to find out this news about Valor FC. Obviously, the Hellebuyck story dominating everything. But just a quick thought from you on the unfortunate failure of the CPL here in the city of Winnipeg, which really prides ourselves on being one of the best sports cities in Canada.
Certainly disappointing to see, I feel, for all the fans and supporters, and the lack of success on the field, I think, or on the field or the pitch. They weren't able to bring in a ton of fans. Their games were in the cavern of the big stadium, which could be great, but again, they weren't getting the support, and not putting out a winning product over and over didn't help that. So I had high hopes for CPL when they announced they were coming here, and you thought it'd be something like the Sea Bears, and the Sea Bears kind of found lightning in the bottle there in that first season, and I thought we'd see something with Valor FC, but they just could never really get going. So that's kind of disappointing that you had the ice here that left in the last couple of years, and now Valor FC leaving. And there's other leagues kicking around like lacrosse or PWHL. You do have to wonder if anyone else who wants to bring a team here will be having second thoughts based on what just happened with these two teams.
Just a quick thought on that just before we get to the Hellebuyck news in tonight's game. The return of the Winnipeg Jets changed everything here in Winnipeg, and I think we're seeing now into the 15th season of Jets 2.0. I mean, the cost of the National Hockey League, essentially the Jets just take up so much oxygen in the sporting market. And, for the Bombers to do what they've done over the last number of years to where they are right now in the Canadian Football League is a true Canadian success story. And we talk about it, the golden years of Blue Bomber football with the crowds that are the envy everywhere. There's a limited amount of money. There's a limited amount of time. And there's a limited amount of people and businesses to support all of these teams. And, with the Jets returning, and the Bombers doing so well, it has really been difficult for some of the other teams. Now, listen, the Sea Bears coming in the summer, I think probably had some effect on Valor. They've done very well. I mean, have been sort of one of the jewels of the CEBL. And then the Gold Eyes just, continue doing their own thing with their fan base. I mean, it's a rite of summer, but it's a really, really crowded sports market. And, unless there was a real appetite to suck up and eat some pretty big losses, it was going to be hard to keep the soccer going right now, even as it does well in some of the other markets. And, soccer overall in Canada continues to grow and the excitement builds heading into the World Cup. I'm not sure whether this is forever, whether someone else would take another crack at it. The league would love to have a franchise operating here in Winnipeg. But for right now, it sort of was survival of the fittest. And certainly the Valor FC was towards the bottom of the totem pole. And that was the end of it right now for soccer, at least professional soccer right now for the time being here in Manitoba. But on to the Jets, Reem. And listen, we were all fired up about this game. Looking forward to seeing all the WSTers that got tickets in the WST section for the game of the month tonight. Nikolaj Ehlers' return, which we'll certainly talk about that. And it's sort of wild that, the Adam Lowry extension and the Ehlers' return isn't where we're starting. But when you get the announcement this morning that Connor Hellebuyck's out 4 to 6 weeks, that pretty much dwarfs everything else on the docket today. And, I mentioned to you after the show, I did have someone reach out to me yesterday afternoon saying that they had heard that something was up with Hellebuyck and he was going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. And I'm like, I have never hoped anyone has been more wrong in my life. And unfortunately, they were right. And Darren Dreger was the one that officially broke this news. Dreger said that Hellebuyck has been dealing with this issue for a while. And the goalie and the team believe it's best taken care of now as opposed to having it linger. It was an arthroscopic knee procedure, referred to as minor, but the anticipation that is Hellebuyck will be out for 4 to 6 weeks. Now, Hellebuyck played on Saturday against the Calgary Flames. I believe the procedure happened in between that game and the beginning of the week. So the recovery's already beginning. And listen, I guess we can give Hellebuyck the benefit of the doubt on one thing. I guess we don't really know what his recovery period is like because the guy never is hurt. I mean, and touch wood, he's missed a couple games being sick. I think he missed one for the birth of one of his kids. But he has been the workhorse of National Hockey League goalies ever since he took the starter's reins here in Winnipeg. And Remis, this is sort of uncharted territory for us going forward for a month or more without number 37, who has been the backbone of this team for the last number of years.
Yeah, I was going to say, Hellebuyck, it's amazing how much he's played and how little games he's missed, and we've never really seen the Winnipeg Jets for an extended period of time without Connor Hellebuyck, the reigning league MVP, the reigning 2-time Vezina Trophy winner, 3 total. So it's going to be up to Eric Comrie. They called up Thomas Milic now, and we saw Connor Hellebuyck at the Grey Cup on Sunday. Seemingly everything was going well. Missed practice Monday, didn't think much of it. And here we are with Darren Dreger dropping this bombshell where we already were set to talk about Adam Lowry's extension, Nikolaj Ehlers' return, and Brad Lambert, his agent, exploring a trade. But this trumps...
Oh, that.
Yeah, that seems minor. That's yesterday's news already.
Forgot about that already after talking about it at the end of yesterday's show.
I have the clips from Scott Arneil. He was asked about that today. But yeah, Hellebuyck, the number one topic, and they're going to have to weather the storm here. If it's Eric Comrie, there's going to be back-to-backs in there. Thomas Milic, I'm sure we'll see his first NHL action. And so it's going to be tough. They're going to have to buckle down here. Hellebuyck masks a lot of problems when they break. When you have breakdowns, he makes every save look so easy. He stops them all the ones he can see. It seems like every goal that's scored him is some broken play where the puck's like bouncing off a guy. So it's going to be tough. We'll see how this team looks. And the good news is that it's only 4 to 6 weeks, and you hope he's going to be healthy for the playoffs, assuming everything goes according to plan.
Well, and listen, I don't know. I have no idea what the conversations were behind the scenes on all of this, because obviously this has been something that he'd been dealing with since training camp. And listen, he's still been Connor Hellebuyck. There hasn't been any big drastic drop off or anything in his play. But the Olympics are coming up, and he presumably will be the starter again for the United States. If you were able to hang on until January and have that done and recover during the Olympic break, from a Jets perspective, it would be great. But every one of these players is desperate to play in what will certainly be one of the highlights of their career, the first full world true best on best tournament we've had in over a decade at the Olympic Games. So when you look at the schedule right now, and again, do we have clarity on what day the surgery happened? I thought someone said it happened Saturday, but Saturday he played. So, maybe that would have been the following day or Monday of this week?
Between Sunday and today, does it? I guess that's a full week. So
yeah, it does. We're talking about 4 to 6
yeah.
weeks. If you told me that it happened on Monday, the 24th, you're looking at 4 weeks to Monday would be the 22nd, the beginning of the Christmas break. So I do think that there is the possibility, if he heals quickly, that we're talking about getting Hellebuyck back, after Christmas. So the Jets play at home against the Minnesota Wild on the 27th. They've got the Oilers on the 29th, and then finish it up on New Year's Eve against the Detroit Red Wings. if it went beyond that, and we're talking about, sort of the 5th of January, that's at the end of a road trip. We're basically talking about 20 games. So it's going to be 15 to 20 games without Connor Hellebuyck. And listen, this is going to be a big opportunity for Eric Comrie, but also this team, every player, going to need to step up in the absence of Helly.
Yeah, everyone's going to have to step up and shore down defensively, make it life easy on Eric Comrie or Thomas Milic, whoever may be in net. Just looking at the schedule, next Wednesday in Washington, then you do have a back-to-back Black Friday game afternoon, 4 o'clock Carolina, Saturday Nashville. I imagine Thomas Milic will get in for his first NHL game, and then another back-to-back on December 5th and 6th with Buffalo and Edmonton. So I'm curious how this is going to play out. We haven't seen Connor Hellebuyck not in the lineup for an extended period of time, but this is something they felt they needed to take care of, and it'll make him stronger. And I think on the bright side, as we've been talking, hey, Hellebuyck needs to play less games so he can be fresh for the playoffs. And, well, this is maybe not the way you'd want it to happen, but this is, I guess, the positive of this, assuming they can weather the storm and stay in their playoff spot in a Western Conference that has become very competitive.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, the word's getting around the league just as we do this. I see I get a text from our pal Dennis Bernstein to jump on them tomorrow on Sirius XM NHL Radio to talk about the Jets without Hellebuyck. It's a topic that we've never had to broach before, and one that we haven't wanted to. And but such is life. Up until now, it's been death taxes and Hellebuyck, the backbone of the Winnipeg Jets, in that net pretty much every game, and that won't be the case over the course of the next month plus, as he's out 4 to 6 weeks. Let's hear what head coach Scott Arneil had to say about this. No surprise what the first question was about. It wasn't about Lowry's extension. It wasn't about Brad Lambert. It was about Connor Hellebuyck. Here's what Arnie had to say about losing their MVP.
Yeah, obviously he's, 10 years. He's been pretty healthy. And this has kind of been nagging on him out here since training camp. It's something that we've kind of known about. He was trying to play through it. It'll be good days, bad days. Just something that timing's right, get it done now. A lot of schedule ahead of us. So that was really just the thinking. Sat down and talked to him, obviously medical staff, everybody, agent. This was the time to do it.
All right, there is Scott Arneil on it, on the to the first announcement that Hellebuyck's going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks. Remo, if you can, go to number 12, because listen, there's other topics that Arnie gets to, but this is the story right now in the National Hockey League, not just here in Winnipeg. Here's a little bit more from Arnie on the Helly injury.
No, this is just kind of something that's been, I don't know if it went through the summer. I just know that started to hear about it near the end of training camp and just started to linger, and just something, like I mentioned, we want to get done right now.
Does that make his performance to date this year even more outstanding? Because there's some underlying numbers to suggest he's actually having an even better season than he did last year.
Well, he never surprises me, obviously, what I've been able to watch for the last 4 years. But I think there's a lot of players that are injured, the guys that are, play through stuff, and he's no different. He wants to be out there all the time, and I think that he was hoping that maybe this would be something that would kind of play itself out and maybe not be as uncomfortable as it became, and that's kind of what it became, uncomfortable in practices, and then that started to carry over, so it was the timing was right.
There's never a good time, for the record, to lose Connor Hellebuyck for the Winnipeg Jets. But, I guess if they know this is going to happen, you do it, you get it done, you get him back in the net, and obviously give him the opportunity to win more games for the Winnipeg Jets. And now the question is how this team can survive without their MVP. It's Eric Comrie time. And, Comrie, to his credit, had a real nice start to the season. He's been in 5 games so far this year. He's got a 4-1 record, a .908 save percentage, and a .260 goals against average. I mean, last year he had a .914 save percentage, and the record sort of did Comrie a disservice. I mean, there were so many games last year where the Jets would start Comrie and just wouldn't do anything offensively, and that's why his record was only 9-10-1. But he played probably some of the best hockey that he had since the 21-22 season with Winnipeg, where he had a .920 save percentage. But it is Eric Comrie time, and Remo, this is number 9, if you will. Here's Arnie on Comrie's readiness to take on the starting role with the Jets.
Well, I think the big thing is that Combs has been here, a couple of times, especially the last 2 years for me. Just the confidence that our group has with him and playing in goal, and we didn't give him the run support last year. We're doing a little better job of that this year when he's been in there, and we're extremely confident. You're not going to replace Connor Hellebuyck. He's a Hart Trophy winner, obviously the Vezina, but at the end of the day, our team game, which has steadily gotten better in the last 5 or 6 games, has helped us as a group to drop our D-zone analytics, so to speak, have greatly improved, and we need to continue to do that. And and that's in front of whether that's in front of Helly or that's in front of Combs. But at the end of the day, now it's we got to make sure that we do the right things and continue to do the right things, and not only for ourselves as a team game, but it's also to make sure that that Combs is being comfortable in there and not getting overworked.
Reem, as we said earlier, and Scott Arneil basically just alluded to that. Comrie, they've got a lot of confidence in him, but everyone that's out there wearing a Jet jersey in these games is going to need to be even more committed to the defensive structure that has been the backbone of the success of the team and the success of Connor Hellebuyck over the last little while. Here's, I guess, the big question is, okay, what's Thomas Milic is coming in? How much is Comrie going to play? Here's what Arnie has to say about the increased workload for Combs coming up starting tonight.
Fire.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're talking 4 to 6 weeks, so I'm not sure, but I don't think Eric can go all those games. So, they're gonna have to. He's gonna have to play, and I don't know how we're gonna lay the schedule out. And it gets busy It gets real busy once we head out on the road. He's gonna have to play, and that's part of it. We've said it. I know it's different with goaltending, but at the end of the day, it's next man up. It really is, and we're not replacing Connor, but at the end of the day, our group has to be real good in front of Combs. He's gonna have to be really good in front of Milic as well. It's part of what kind of comes. Hopefully that he goes out and helps us win hockey games.
Yeah, that will be the plan, and it will be exciting to see Thomas Milic get his first NHL action at some point over the course of this time Hellebuyck is away. But for right now, it's the Eric Comrie show, and he's been real solid when he's been called upon for the Winnipeg Jets, Reem, and now the stakes, though, are increased for Eric and for the team, and it will take everyone doing a little bit more to make up for the loss of a guy that has been, as I said, the backbone of the team's success for the last number of years.
100%. There's one thing for a backup goalie to come in spot duty on back-to-backs or every couple games and be ready, but when you're a starter, that's different. You're playing every second night. You're more workload, routine's different, and you've seen backup goalies who are good in the backup role, but how do they react to becoming a full-time starter? I don't think we've ever seen Eric Comrie in this role. He's been very good since, I think, after his third start of last year. His numbers very solid, and you've seen backup goalies come here the last couple of years and succeed. I think of Laurent Brossoit, the most notable. So we'll see how Comrie does. We'll get a look at him. And Thomas Milic, he's a guy who was a late-round draft pick. He's impressed at every level he's played, whether in the ECHL or with the Moose. What if he comes in and surprises and maybe even steals a couple starts? I don't know if that is going to happen or not, but again, that's a guy who was great in the WHL. He was good for Team Canada. Was a late-round pick, I guess, because he's a smaller-ish guy.
Well, let's talk about the present right now.
Yeah.
I mean, nice start to the season, 5-2-2. Moose won again last night, 2-1 win over the Chicago Wolves. So, kind of gets the call up after another strong performance, letting only one goal in. Maybe we'll find we got another jewel in the organization, much like Hellebuyck, a later round pick, but with Milic. But as I say, Eric Comrie tonight. We're going to bring in Mike Maniscalco in just a minute and talk about tonight's game and Nikolaj Ehlers' return to Winnipeg and his start with the Canes. We will hear from Ehlers. We had Connor Rabchak down there earlier today, and we we will definitely have Ehlers for you as well. But obviously the Hellebuyck topic was the main story coming in. Before we bring in Mike, our friends at Uptown Alley are getting ready for a big holiday season. Folks, if you're thinking about a little holiday party or get together, why don't you do it at the most fun place in town, Uptown Alley, with 5-pin bowling, 10-pin bowling, an incredible arcade, games where you can win great prizes, and amazing food and beverage options as well. They're also doing a fun thing that's popular every year, and I'll get you details on that coming up, the Brunch with the Grinch at Uptown Alley. But in the meantime, gift cards for Uptown Alley would make a great holiday gift or stocking stuffer. And don't forget, if you're looking for a good time to get inside somewhere when it's getting cooling down, they've got the Bowl and Play special after 9 p.m. every day. 90 minutes of bowling and a $10 arcade card for just $20.49 for 10-pin and $22.49 per person for 10-pin bowling. Group, corporate events, birthday parties for kids, teens, and adults. They'll handle it all for you. 488-0000 or uptownalley.ca for more information. Gang, if you're looking ahead to the new year and you and your family are on the move, lean on our friends and great partners at Rolly's Transfer to take as much of the stress out of it as possible when you are moving to that new home. Rolly's, family-owned and operated, have been the leaders and the most trusted name in moving for over 60 years here in southern Manitoba, and their logistics business has taken them around the province every day, which means great rates, great routes, flexible timing for those moves as well. So head on over to the website at rollies.com, click on Request an Estimate, use that promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies, and then let her know when and where the move is happening, what needs to go, and the friendly staff at Rollies will turn around quickly with a great quote to get you locked in for the white glove treatment and service that Rollies customers have appreciated now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, make it Rollies Transfer. Find out more, request an estimate today at rollies.com. I know Dr. Terry and the gang down at St. Vital Dental Center are ready for the marble race a little later on, although maybe the smiles aren't as big right now with the Connor Hellebuyck news here in Winnipeg. Of course, for all your dental needs, lean on St. Vital Dental Centers. They've been taking care of generations of Winnipeggers. They've got a brand new facility at 167 St. Anne's with state-of-the-art equipment, convenient free parking right behind the building as well, to take care of all of your dental needs for clients from 6 months to 99 plus, with a full array of services from cleanings and checkups to things like dental implants. Find out more and make an appointment today to pop by and see our pal Dr. Terry at St. Vital Dental Center. And of course, the holidays are here, gang. And there may be a few people that need a drink after the Hellebuyck news today. If you're popping by your local Manitoba liquor marts today, keep your eyes out for the original Canadian Club, the official and original Canadian whiskey since 1858. Limited quantities available of that special bomber label bottle. Might make a great holiday gift. But right now, as you get ready to enjoy the holidays and start joining in, keep your eyes out for Canadian Club Cranberry Ginger Ale. CC and Ginger's been a huge hit for the last couple of years. Now, just in time for the holidays, the CC Cranberry Ginger Ale, available in the 4-packs and 473 ml cans, also available at your local beer vendors. Pop by your liquor marts, Cranberry Ginger Ale from Canadian Club and the original CC, just in time for the holidays. And again, keep your eyes out at beer vendors as well for the new Canadian Club Cranberry Ginger Ale. All right, the Canes and Nikolaj Ehlers are here in town. Very nice of the play-by-play voice of the Canes, Mike Maniscalco, to join us on the program. Mike, welcome back to the Peg, and thanks for doing this and joining us on Winnipeg Sports Talk. How are you?
I'm well. After all of that, do you need a break from the break? I just want to make sure you're okay. That was marvelous. I have to tip the cap to you.
Appreciate it. Well, you know what? We got to pay the bills. We've got some great sponsors, but everyone fired up to get ready for this hockey game tonight. Listen, the Canes have been one of the top teams in the league and in the last number of years, and it's always neat to see a team that you only get to see once coming into town. A little different, though, with a beloved former Winnipeg Jet, Nikolaj Ehlers, making his first visit to the Peg in a visiting jersey. First off, tell us about Nick and how he's fitting in Carolina and the first month plus of his time as a Hurricane?
Well, you guys enjoyed him for a decade, so you know what a special person he is. Forget about the player. I mean, he just is a really good guy off of the ice. That's the one thing that jumps off of the page to me, that, you know, you get to be around a player like Nick Ehlers, who is, you know, he's got time for everybody, talks to every reporter, has a story, make sure that, you know, if there's a question, it gets answered. And then on the ice, you know, you take a look at what he's been able to do the last 8 games, and he's just putting up points left and right. With, if you're the Canes, that's what you want him to do. He got off to, you know, it's I hesitate to say he got off to a slow start. He just didn't get points early when he was put with Sebastian Aho and Winnipeg boy Seth Jarvis. It took him a little while to get to that, but Rod Brind'Amour moved him to align with Logan Stankoven, centering him and Jackson Blake. And that's where, you know, really the magic has started to happen, and the chemistry just kind of fell into place. But he has been as advertised. You know, the Canes needed somebody who could carry the puck in, basically be a one-man zone entry, and you guys saw it for years. That's what he can do. He can get from A to B as quick as anybody in the league, and when he gets there, he's got really good hands, and he can set up his teammates. So the points have started to come for him. I think that he needed to get, and it was appropriate that he scored his first goal with the Canes at Madison Square Garden, basically in the exact same spot where he scored his first goal with the Winnipeg Jets. And you can see King Kong get off of his shoulders and climb up the Empire State Building. So, no, he has been as advertised. He's been what Carolina, when you looked at free agency this year, for what the Canes were going to identify, what they needed, he was at the top of the list, and he has been what they've wanted him to be.
You know, it's, you know, often, I mean, this is the nature of pro sports. I mean, players come and players leave. And the Jets, for their part, I mean, especially because of how important it is, they are not a big player in free agency. They've done a great job at keeping their players. And Ehlers was sort of the one that got away, although he did sign a 6-year extension. I mean, it wasn't like, you know, he wasn't just here and gone. But the topic around Nick for the last number of years, why a lot of people thought that he maybe would go somewhere else, was that he's such a talented player. He's so productive that he should be a first-line player, and he'd be going to a place where he's on the first line. And, you know, it was no surprise that he started off with the studs that you mentioned. I mean, Jarvis and Aho, and it didn't take. And now he comes back to Winnipeg playing pretty much the exact place where he was before. I mean, a power play guy and a guy on the second line. Is this sort of the best fit right now for him? Or, I mean, are we still early enough that you could see him maybe get back up with Aho and Jarvis at some point during this time? Or does Rod Brind'Amour feel like this is the great fit for him, and that's where he makes the most sense to have him in the Canes lineup?
Yeah, this is the fit for him right now. The funny thing is, next time Rod's in town, come on down and ask him about his numbered lines, and then see what response you get. nobody does it anymore, but he really doesn't view the Aho line and the Stankoven line right now. And, you know, I give Rod credit. If a line is going, he'll keep tapping them and sending them over the board. So the other night in Boston, it was the Ehlers line that was going, and they got the majority of the shifts in the third period, and, you know, and especially in crucial times to, you know, try to add to the lead. So yeah, I know how everybody's looking at it like that, but for me, it now comes down to minutes played. So maybe he's not getting 19 minutes, maybe it's 17 minutes, and I know that was the thing, but it wasn't, for whatever reason, fitting the way that everybody wanted it to with Jarvis and Aho early on. And I think part of that, too, is when a guy's been in a place for so long, and this is your big ticket free agent who comes in, the line mates who are here kind of feel this responsibility of, well, we got to get him going. You know, we got to set him up instead of just playing the game, playing in the system, playing what you need to do. So I think there was a little bit of that, you know, a little column A, a little column B, where you could put him down with Stankoven and Blake, two really talented players, now not established in the league, like, say, Aho and Jarvis are, but you know what Nikolaj can do? He can drive the line. And the young guys can follow him because of what he can set up and how he can get in the zone. And Blake and Stankoven, while they're not big in stature, they play big. They get to pucks. They win board battles. So it's fit. But the one thing also, if you follow the Canes, and I clearly do, we'll see him back with Aho and Jarvis at some point this year. I mean, that's just going to be how it happens, because sometimes lines, you know, we all get, and I say it, we're all victims of growing up in the 80s and 90s and playing NHL, 93 until whatever, that this is the first line, this is the second line, here's our checking line, then the fourth line, plays 6 minutes. It's not like that anymore in this league. So, especially with the Canes, and that's why.
And it is sort of funny because, and I'll give Nick a lot of credit for this. Like, this was a topic around, a lot of the fans, a lot of the media, and I think the fans were sort of worried, like, geez, if we don't get this guy in a better situation, there's going to be a better one out for him, and you might lose him. The media talked about it, and the people in the analytics, look how good his numbers are. The team would be better if he played more. The one guy we never heard that from is Nikolaj Ehlers. And I imagine he's kind of come into Carolina appreciating the opportunity, but more than anything, being a proud guy, just wanting to be able to contribute and help his new team win hockey games.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at the 13 points that he's had in basically the last 14 games. Like that's where it all falls into place. And the one thing about this group, I'm not going to say there's no ego. You got to have ego if you're going to play in this league and believe that you're good and you can do the things you need to do on the ice. But these guys don't put ego in front of the results, right? It's nobody is Sebastian Aho, Jordan Staal. These guys are never going to be pissed off at a win if they only have like 2 shots and no points, right? They're going to be, we won the game. That's the culture that is in Carolina right now. And you can run down a lot of lists of, good, bad, or indifferent. I'll take a team that can go to the playoffs every year, because I like that a lot better than, we're really entertaining, but we're fighting for that 8th spot, that final wild card spot. Get in and go from there. And what Ehlers can bring is something that they lost when they made the deal last year, when they traded Marty Necas and Jack Drury to Colorado to bring in Mikko Rantanen. They lost a guy who can pick up the puck and get his own entry by skating in on his own. That's what Marty Necas does very well. And you're starting to see that in Colorado now. Nikolaj Ehlers is picking up that spot here in Carolina. And, it's for whatever reason now, it's just worked better with Logan Stankoven and with Jackson Blake. And it's not to say that it might not work better as you get, 40 games into the season with Seth and Sebastian when you get to that point. But overall, the other thing too, I think we all get into this phase as fans or fans of clubs when free agency happens. Well, you should stay here and hometown discounts and all this. And, these guys have such a short shelf life really to do this. When you get a chance to cash in the Willy Wonka golden ticket, I don't have a problem with the guys doing this now. And I think for Nikolaj, he saw where his career went. It's 10 great years. I think it's going to be really emotional for him tonight at Canada Life Center. I think that the memories are going to flood back. I don't think that you can tell me better than I can tell you. I don't think there's going to be animosity with the fans here.
Oh, none at all.
Yeah, I think they understood why he took the deal that he did. And, the funny thing is how the board fell this offseason for free agents. He went to the top. So, why not explore your offers and take the best one in a place where it fits? And, Carolina and Winnipeg are similar in, not huge markets. The fans are intense and they're into the games and they want to be part of it. I know that is when I'm in a Canadian market and I say that the Carolina hockey fan base is intense. It might not be huge, but the fans that are there are into the games and into the team and they want them to do well. That's the thing that stands out. So he gets to go to a place where, he gets to cash in that deal. As you mentioned, he re-upped. He gave 10 years here to Winnipeg. I'm sure he will be, in the times I've talked to him, he's such a thoughtful human being. I'm sure he's going to be, to his core, thinking, man, this is going to be tough to play tonight. How do I go out against my friends, the guys who I played all these games with, and, this crowd who was there for him? As you say, every time we came into Winnipeg, that's what we'd hear, hey, is Nikolaj Ehlers going to get more time? And how is this going to play into it? So, it'll be interesting tonight to see how he handles, because that there's going to be a thank you, a tribute to him at some point in the game, and how he reacts to that.
Oh, it'll be. Listen, we do for Winnipeg Sports Talk. We do sort of a game of the month where a bunch of people come out, and we basically got the schedule. When's the Carolina game? That was the game because so many people wanted to be there too. As disappointing as it was that they weren't able to keep him here in the Peg, to really thank Nikolaj for 10 great seasons as a Jet. And, I know that Balls and the guys that they'll have a nice kind of tribute video and welcome back for him. And I don't think, I've been talking about it this week as we got closer to the game with just friends at the bar, just, away from the show. This, I think, is going to be the most heartfelt moment like that maybe we've seen, it's certainly for longevity and contribution. I mean, like the Evander Kane return was notorious, if you will, and people were fired up for another reason. Patrick Laine, when he got traded, was, a big game, but he came back. There was a couple other players. They did it all together. And again, it was a trade. This one was a little different, and it seemed like it was a long time coming. And listen, I mean, through your career, you'll see a bunch of these. Yeah. I'm not sure you'll see one that has more emotion involved in it from both sides as the one tonight. Well, what have you, now that you've been around Nick for the last couple months through training camp and here, the early season struggles, now things are going well for him and the team. What stood out to you about Nikolaj Ehlers, both on and off the ice?
One, just his welcoming nature. He's in a new team. He can do the, feel it out with the media and nothing right away. He also loved the fact that there's another Dane in the locker room in Frederik Andersen. And I will bring this up. I'll probably make this joke way too many times, but the most amazing thing to me was Nikolaj Ehlers made Frederik Andersen laugh. So that, he made him, that alone. No, I kid about that, but Freddie was excited to have him in the locker room, and I think for him to fit in. As you know, it's not easy. You move to a new city. You've been in a place for 10 years. You're used to, this is your route to the rink. This is how you get here. I actually did an hour radio show with him, and he goes, I don't need GPS to get to the arena anymore. So that's a plus. Trying to find places to eat. He's got a really good sense of humor, but he's pretty open if you ask him about his game, his teammates, how a game played out for him, good or bad. That's what stood out to me. He's just, from what I've picked up on, and again, it hasn't been the longest time. It's really only been about 3.5 months, but he's just a genuine person off the ice. When you see that, his game on the ice, the thing that stood out to me, I knew he was fast. I didn't know he was this fast.
Oh yeah.
Like when he gets wheeling with the puck, he goes 0 to 60 in about, 4.5. It doesn't take him long to get the engine going to where it needs to go.
You know what was interesting, Mike, just from a hockey perspective, and we were kicking this around the last couple of days, is that, and you can speak to this, the Canes have been, a juggernaut. They, win 2 rounds every year, and then they've just sort of gone up against a brick wall in these conference finals, more often than not against the Florida Panthers. And there's been so much talk about, okay, what does Carolina need? They need to be bigger. They need to be tougher, playoff spot. It kind of seems like they doubled down on their style of play with the possession demon and the speed that Nikolaj Ehlers has. To me, the commitment to get Ehlers in from the Hurricanes was a further commitment to the way that the Carolina Hurricanes have played. And to be honest, it did seem like a really nice fit, albeit maybe not significantly changing the way that this team plays.
Well, I think that's a pretty good observation for it. And, the funny thing is when you talk about the big, bad Florida Panthers, when you look at them, the back end, they've got some big guys who played defense. But, up front, Matthew Tkachuk is not 6'3", 240. He's not Walt. He's not Keith Tkachuk.
Yeah.
Brad Marchand, who is a hell of a hockey player, and, maybe the number one irritant in this new era of hockey, Brad Marchand that's not Zdeno Chara. He's not standing over top of people. The one guy who is big for them, Alexander Barkov in the middle, I don't think people realize how big Barkey is playing center, but it's overall, you just have to be better at your game than the opposition is at theirs. And Florida, by the way, also has had a pretty good equalizer where, remember that Sergei Bobrovsky contract that looked terrible for all those years? Well, now it looks phenomenal because of the last 3 years getting to the cup, that first year, and then the last 2 when you win it. He's a winning goalie. You got to have that when you get to the finals. It's I would love to. We can't do it. I would love to know what social media and sports talk radio would have been like when the Edmonton Oilers were in their heyday, or the Islanders were, and everybody talking about why these teams couldn't beat them, because they're great teams, right? You know, there's no mystery to it. You got Gretzky and Messier and Coffey and Anderson. How come you can't beat them? Because they got Gretzky and Messier and Coffey and Anderson and Grant Fuhr. There's no magic formula here, but you try to play your system. You try to identify players who do what you want to do better than what you've had. And that's where the Canes this year, honestly, this is the deepest this team has been. I don't know how much you guys truly follow Carolina, but Jacob Slavin has played 5 periods. And I think that all of Canada and all of the world saw how good Jacob Slavin was in the Four Nations tournament this past year and what he was able to do with Team USA. Jalen Chatfield has been hurt. You had Shane Gostisbehere in and out of the lineup. So, I mean, you're missing half of your top 6 defensemen. And this team is 13-5-2. And, hasn't really missed a beat that much defensively. And you've called on some rookie defensemen to jump in. And Mike Riley, who really didn't play much at all last year. That's what this team is about, because they're now deeper now than they've ever been. And that's a lot of it. It sounds like an excuse. I'm just going to point to the fact this team hasn't been healthy. 100% healthy when they get to the playoffs. And that'll be a big thing for them. And they need their big guys like Andrei Svechnikov, Jordan Staal, Will Carrier to be big when you get to those series. And yeah, sure, if you can if you let me know a 6'3", 225-pound goal scorer who's out there who can get to the front of the net and it'll cost you nothing to get him, let me know how that can be done. And I'm sure that Eric Tulsky will call you right after he talks to me about it.
Yeah, I got a couple guys just warming up in the pen now.
I saw a couple of guys down in the lobby just, kicking it around, drinking the coffee.
We got a Tom Wilson cloning machine in the back that for everyone that comes in. Mike, obviously Nikolaj Ehlers is going to be the guy everyone's talking about and looking at tonight, but this is a really, really good hockey club. And of course, one of our own, Seth Jarvis, starring right now. Tell us a little bit about the Winnipeg kids season right now, how he's playing as he looks not only to try and take the next step with the Canes as a team, but also represent Canada at the Olympic Games.
Yeah, there was a scary moment where he blocked a shot about 5-6 games ago, and we weren't sure what his availability was going to be, and he played the next day. So he's a heart and soul player. He's a winning player. Like if I am building a team and I'm looking for like the DNA of a hockey player, he's got it through and through, to his toenails. And he's just, for me, you watch him every year, he keeps getting better. Like, a part of his game, it just keeps evolving. He's a 200-foot player now. He's one of the best. He and Sebastian Aho, I think, are the best, at least in the East, the best duo that you can send out top when you're on the penalty kill. And you're like, something's going to happen. They're going to create a shorthanded chance here because they play off of each other really well. There's that chemistry. But he made himself into that player. He wanted to get better defensively. He was the guy asking, hey, what can I do? Talking to Rod Brindamore, what more can I do? How can I get this part of my game better? He doesn't take a ton of draws anymore because he's a winger. I know that he came up as a center, but when you need him to take a draw, he wins it. And in board battles, he's as tough as nails. And again, the shot that he blocked was in a game that was decided. Like, it was 3-1, and he's putting his foot out to try to block a shot because he that's how he plays. Like that, there is no off switch. There is no, we're going to coast to the finish line with Seth Jarvis. And he's also one of the funniest people that you can be around.
Him and his buddies. I was with them all at the Four Nations in Boston, that whole crew.
So you were part of the 48-hour excursion from Winnipeg in the van.
I met them there. I didn't ride with those cats, but I met them all there. And I mean, that was a cast of characters that, and that's sort of taken a life on its own. I'm sure they head down to Carolina every now and then, and they got their own fan club, but he's a beauty, and you can see where he comes from right here in Winnipeg.
Oh, I'm glad you used that word. He's a beautician. He is the one guy that when you talk about great hockey personalities, the spotlight is really starting to shine on him because he just doesn't know any better. And I love it about him. And when I say he doesn't know any better, it's not this, how many times we hear interviews, and I get it because we want these guys to be authentic. And the second they say something real, everybody jumps up and down over their comments. Oh, I can't believe you said, why would you say that? He's just real. This is what he says. This is how he feels. This is what he believes. It is so good to be around. I hate to use like all these cliches, like a breath of fresh air, but he's just going to tell you what he thinks. And, he's not putting thought into it. He's not trying to give you the polished answer. He'll give you the real answers about it. He still has the Sidney Crosby poster hanging up in his room, for God's sake, in Winnipeg. Do you know how many guys before that would happen where they would have everything would be curated perfectly in the room? He is who he is. He is comfortable. The funny thing is, nobody is harder on Seth Jarvis about his game or getting better than Seth Jarvis. But he's also comfortable knowing what he is. He is comfortable in that locker room saying things to the veterans. And now he's becoming a veteran. He's not old, but he is now a guy who, when you look at him, he can stand up in the room and not make the joke. He can stand up in the room and be like, boys, this is what we got to do right now. And that's part of the the evolution of Seth Jarvis. But I love talking to him because every day he's one of those guys where, I see him in the locker room and I don't go by Mikey. There's a select few people in the world who get to call me Mikey, and he's one of them, and he's way younger than me. And he's like, Mikey, how are you? And I'm like, well, my day's better because I get a chance to talk to you right now. And he goes, oh, I don't believe that. But that's just how he is. He's just,
it's so funny that you just mentioned that he's his own harshest critic, because I was good at blowing that up. That's exactly what we always said about Ehlers. Yeah. I mean, Ehlers is the guy, he'll look like have a good game, and he'll be, he'll praise everybody else and be hard on himself at the same time, and doing it with a great sense of humor and self-awareness about it as well. Well, listen, we're really looking forward to this game. I mean, the Canes as a hockey team are always a treat to see. Two good teams tonight going at it. Very interesting goaltending matchup right now with Hellebuyck on the shelf, which has us getting counseling for everybody in the chat right now. But just quickly, tell us about Brandon Bussi, who's going to be getting the start tonight on the Cane side of things.
So Brandon Bussi was a guy who they pick up. They had Caden Primo, who they traded for in the preseason from Montreal, and it looked like Caden was going to be the third goalie. Canes try to send him down, try to get him to clear waivers. Toronto claims him. The day that they put him through waivers, you can see that the Canes made the claim for Bussi from Florida. And the Canes goaltending coach, Paul Schoenfelder, had identified him. And he had, if you take a look, he'd had cups of coffee in the NHL, but never got into a game. He backed up, never got into a game. But he was a guy who Paul Schoenfelder identified going, look, if he's available and we need him. So he's a big goalie. He is athletic. I'll call him a gamer, because there have been times where you'll watch him in the morning skate and you're like, okay. And then when the game comes in, he makes the save. But he had 63 wins in the minors with Providence. And, you get that kind of win, and it's not like the Bruins AHL team was stacked. So, I think he was 63, 31, and 12 in the last 3 years with Providence. But he's a big goaltender. He'll make some stand-up saves, some steady saves. He's a guy who likes to feel the puck. So, I think earlier the better for him to face a couple of shots, and we'll see what he can be. But he came in a pinch because Pyotr Kochetkov wasn't healthy in training camp, and he wasn't healthy to start the season. The Canes needed a goalie because you can take a look at the injury woes they've had at the position since Frederik Andersen came to Carolina, because when Frederik is healthy, his numbers are as good as anybody in the league. Although this year I know that people like to poke holes at what's going on, but when he's healthy, you had to have some kind of backup insurance. And now the Canes, Bussi performed so well, they don't want to expose him to waivers, and they don't want to lose him. So it's been a three-man rotation for about a month and a half. It's not ideal, but the Canes are trying to find a way to make it work.
I don't think I can ever remember a goaltending matchup like this one tonight, Mike. Both goaltenders, 5 games, both goaltenders, 4-1.
Yep.
Both goalies with the identical 2.60 goals against average. And, both playing in front of or behind really good teams.
Yeah.
And it should be a great one tonight. Listen, really appreciate you jumping on to us. Have a great broadcast. Safe travels to Buffalo and back home. Thanks so much for doing this. And let's look forward to a good one tonight downtown.
Should be. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. There's Mike Maniscalco, play-by-play voice of the Carolina Hurricanes, talking a little Ehlers and Canes here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Mike McIntyre will join us coming up in just a few minutes. Listen, before we bring in Mike, do want to get back to Scott Arneil with a couple of these other quotes from him, because there's been so much talking about. We'll get to the Lowry re-signing in a minute. But Lowry, Remo, if you can, let's go to number 14. And this is Scott Arneil, and going up against their old pal Nick, now with his new team, the Canes.
Yeah, well, obviously the speed. Got to make sure we keep him in front of us. But pretty popular. I know the guys went out to dinner with him last night, and a pretty popular player here in town with the fans and his teammates. And you're happy for him. Happy that that's his decision to make, and it's too bad that he's not here. But at the end of the day, I love my time with Nick. He's a fun guy to be around, and we'll just have to make sure we recognize where he is all the time because we know that there's some speed out there.
Here's a little bit more from Arnie with his message to the team going into tonight's game.
Yeah, sorry, message team after losing Hellebuyck.
Yes, in the aftermath of the departure for the next month or so for 37.
I talked to the group, before we went on the ice. It was just, those that, everybody pretty much knew, but those that didn't know that where we were going with this, and it was going to be announced today, and that he was, going, have the surgery tomorrow, and it's. Our DNA, our identity of our group has been defending first, and I've said before, you don't win in this league unless you defend, and it doesn't change how we approach whoever's playing in the goal. Is the fact that when we don't have the puck, go get it, and I've often said that we defend 3 zones. So, I think if we're on the attack side about getting pucks back quickly, we don't get into that sort of sit back mode, and so hopefully we have the puck a lot more than the opposition does, and it makes whoever the goaltender is makes it a little bit easier for them.
All right, so there's Arnie. Okay, so there we have it. So the surgery is happening tomorrow. So we're looking at 1 week will be the Nashville game next week. 2 weeks will be December 6th. Jets are playing Edmonton. 3 weeks will be the Capitals game on the 13th. 4 weeks will be the 20th. One more game, and then is the Christmas break. So, as I said, kind of the way we laid it out earlier on, best case scenario, you're probably talking about those games in between Christmas and New Year's. If they need a little bit more time, early in the new year for the return of Connor Hellebuyck. So it's Eric Comrie's crease for the time being, and it will be tonight going up against Brandon Bussey. Both 4-1, as I mentioned, both with a .260 goals against average. Eric Comrie with a little bit better of a save percentage tonight. Now, what I thought we'd be talking about a little bit more, but sort of getting dwarfed by Ehlers' return and the Hellebuyck news, is this Brad Lambert report last night by Frank Saravelli that we hit on at the end of the show, that the Jets have given his representatives a green light to go and find a trade. Scott Arneil was asked about the Lambert reports and his role to try and win now with this roster that they have.
Yeah, Brad's he's a good young prospect for us, and we're until something happens, I still feel he's going to be a Jet. At the end of the day, we're trying. I've said this before about young guys. We're trying to make them 10, 12, 15-year vets. We want them to be a part of it. We're trying to teach them, bring them along as best we feel we can. We obviously have a veteran group right now, and for those 3 guys, they're all disappointed when they went down. And having to tell them the other day, they're all disappointed, and I understand his disappointment. At the end of the day, they have decisions with their agents, whatever, they handle stuff. But for me, I just think that we'll just let it play itself out. Hopefully he's here and he gets a chance to play for the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, can't really control it when it's kind of gone down that road, but at the end of the day, we think that like we've mentioned, we've got some good young prospects on the move here, and he's one of those ones that's a little farther than the group that just kind of turned pro this year. So we'll see how that plays itself out. For me, at the end of the day, with the coaching staff, when they're here, we're going to try to do everything we can to make sure that they stay here.
There's Coach Arneil. We will have Nikolaj Ehlers. We'll hear a little bit from Adam Lowry as well later on in the program. But Mike McIntyre is going to be joining us in just a minute. Huge thanks to our friends at Princess Auto for their great support of WST and certainly everything they did to put on that incredible Grey Cup last week. Princess Auto, headquartered and founded right here in Winnipeg and now coast to coast, but with 3 Manitoba locations to serve you: Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, out in Brandon as well. Princess Auto is where you'll find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new waiting for you over at Princess Auto. Pop by and see them in store today or shop online 24/7, 365 over at princessauto.com. We'll get to the Chud's Powersports Power Poll NFL teams today, and we'll do that in and around when Hacksaw comes in. But the Derminator, Mr. V-Dub, who won the marble race, I believe, last week or the week before, also out at Chud's Powersports. They're ready for the marble race, and they're also ready for winter. Pop up and see them at the corner of Highway 8 and 231 in Gimli, or go online to chudspowersports.com to check out everything that they've gone on. The biggest and best selection in town, Manitoba's true power sports superstore, with ATVs, UTVs, snowmobiles, RVs, and ice houses, not to mention Argo and Sasquatch vehicles, tractors, off-roaders, and so much more. With the snow coming, it's time to get ready. You can save up to $3,000 with financing as low as 0% for 60 months with Polaris snowmobiles. They've also got great deals on Arctic Cats going into the season. Go to the website. You can see some great feature items, including some King Quads, Arctic Cat, Alterera, four-wheeler, some great clearance items, and check them out at their sister site, TrueNorthParts.com. The best selection for parts if you're looking to fix something or get it back on the road or trail, and some great, amazing deals. We know you love deals on clearance gear and accessories. It's all waiting for you at Chud's Powersports with Winter is Calling. Lock in your preseason deals on Polaris and Arctic Cat sleds before the flakes fly. Check them out today, chudspowersports.com, and we will have another Chud Sports Power Poll later on today on the program. Just before we bring in Mike from the rink, don't forget, winter is just around the corner. Are you ready for it? Get ready for winter before winter gets you at Manitoba Battery. Free battery testing at both Manitoba Battery locations. And if you need a new battery to make sure you're going to get through the harsh Winnipeg winter, they'll hook you up with the best prices in town, period, on batteries for all makes, all models. That's what you can count on at Manitoba Battery, your local battery option with batteries for literally everything. Save money, shop local, and get the best service in town from Donnie and his amazing staff at Manitoba Battery, 1026 Logan Avenue, Dovercourt Drive in the south end of the city. They do deliver throughout the city, anywhere inside the perimeter. And, of course, you can also get those batteries online at manitobabattery.com. All right, let's bring in Mike McIntyre, rinkside right now on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Mike, enough storylines to get to today in the media briefings before we drop the puck tonight?
Sorry, just 1 sec. Let me just bring him in.
Oh, hold on a sec. Mike, Remis isn't ready for you yet.
I'm not ready.
We will get to the Chud's Powersports Power Poll a little later on. I love the Chud's Powersports site, by the way. Mike, what's going on? I love your background today. Busy morning down at Canada Life Center, to say the least.
There's a lot of ladders being moved around right now behind me. I don't know if we're having like a tables, ladders, and chairs match. Maybe?
Is Ken going to fly off one of them, or Marat?
Yes, a very newsy day. In fact, it feels like we crammed about a week's worth of Jets news. And you got good news. You got Adam Lowry, of course, talking about his contract extension. You got sort of the weird news, which is just Nikolaj Ehlers' return and what that's going to be like for everybody. Awkward, probably emotional. And then you got the bad news, of course, which was the real shock of the day for sure. We get so used to just seeing Connor Hellebuyck. He's the workhorse that never breaks down, Huss. Like, I can only think of a couple times over the years where he had an illness. I think he took a brief leave at one point because of a family matter, but
yeah, he's having a kid. It's like 3 times he's missed a game.
Right. You look around the league and you see goaltenders all the time getting hurt. Connor Hellebuyck's never one of them. And, the old saying about one of his greatest abilities has been his durability. And that's certainly true. So, to hear that he is going to be out now 4 to 6 weeks, and it's not like we saw anything with him where you're like, oh, that didn't look good. He got hurt. Like, this is obviously something that's been lingering. But yeah, that was a real shock for sure. So yes, a lot to chat about. Then you add in the whole Brad Lambert's matter. I know you just played the clip there from Scott Arneil. You got Hayden Fleury having a setback as he's in concussion protocol. Just things are happening all over the place here, Huss. So no shortage of items to sink our teeth into.
So, we were just listening to Scott Arneil, and we know that this surgery is going to take place tomorrow.
Yeah.
4 to 6 weeks. They refer to it as somewhat minor. I mean, anything minor that's taken out your MVP for 4 to 6 weeks isn't that minor in the reality of it. You mentioned, I mean, the most reliable goalie in the league, death taxes and Hellebuyck in net for the Jets.
Yep.
What else did we find out about, what had been bothering him and why right now was the time that they decided to go forward with the surgery?
Well, it really puts a new light, doesn't it, on his performance so far this year. To hear that this is something that's been bugging him since training camp. Connor Hellebuyck's made 14 starts this year. His numbers are really good. In fact, I know there's some sites out there, that dig deep into kind of the analytics and the underlying numbers that have suggested that he's actually having as good, if not a better season so far this year than he did last year when he won the Hart for the first time and the Vezina for the third time. So to think that we haven't been seeing Connor Hellebuyck at his healthiest and he's still been able to go out and play the way he has, that's pretty remarkable and kind of almost adds to his legendary status, if you will. But, I think what it boiled down to is this, Huss. There was obviously growing concern that this nagging issue wasn't going away and in fact was maybe getting a little worse. Scott Arneil talked about, some of the discomfort he would feel after games, after practices. And although they didn't completely point to the Olympics as a big issue, I have to think it was.
Oh, me too.
The idea being that let's say you wait another month, let's say you just try and keep going. But now you get a point where in a month from now, you're like, oh, this is just not, you can't keep playing through this. Well, now the Olympics are out. Look, this is a huge opportunity for NHL players. They fought hard to get back to the Olympics. This might be Connor Hellebuyck. I mean, who knows where he's at and where the rest of the league's goalies are at in 4 years. But this might be his one shot at the Olympics. And he obviously, that means a lot to him. I think it means a lot to the organization. Now, Scott Arneil said today, you got to put the Jets' interests obviously ahead of anything else. But the fact is, if this was going to have to happen at some point during the season anyways, doing it now, as opposed to a month from now, where the Olympics would then be very much in jeopardy, I think that played into it. Obviously, they didn't do this right out of camp because I think the initial feeling was that they could play through it. And, I'm sure the Jets were looking at their schedule. They were already without Lowry and Samberg and Perfetti to start the year. Imagine, Huss, if they had also announced that Hellebuyck was going to join those three guys sidelined to start the year. There would have been full panic in Jets land. So I think now that they've got essentially their team back and the feeling is that this team can weather a storm that maybe means not having Hellebuyck around for a while, if they can stay true to their defensive structure and all that. Now that you've got guys like Lowry and Samberg back, the decision was made that this is the time. And look, Huss, this Jets team, you got to make the playoffs first, yes. But this isn't a team just trying to sneak into the playoffs. This is a team trying to win the Stanley Cup. And I think as much as we talk about the Olympics and how that may be factored into the decision, so too did where is Connor Hellebuyck going to be at in April and then hopefully May and June. And again, you do not want your goaltender that you're going to need to be at his best to be anything but 100% by next spring. So, they weathered these first 19 games Now they've got all their injured players back, and Eric Comrie's playing well. So I think all of those factors just made the timing right to do this now. There was never going to be a great time. Like, the schedule is what it is. It's not like there's a 4 to 6 week window where they don't play a lot of hockey. So he's going to miss a ton of games no matter when they decided to do this. I'll say this about Connor Hellebuyck, a guy that's been healthy his whole career, obviously great work ethic, keeps himself in great shape. I'll take the low end of the 4 to 6 in terms of when he gets back. If they obviously give that window, I would think, and I don't have any inside knowledge of this, I just think Connor Hellebuyck, if ever there was a guy that was going to be closer to the 4 weeks as opposed to the 6, it's probably Connor Hellebuyck.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that one. So surgery is going to happen on November 22nd. The 29th is 1 week. December 6th is 2 weeks. The 13th is 3. So 4 weeks is December 20th. Now, they do play the Mammoth that Sunday night and then go into a 5-day break before the week.
Right.
I would not expect him to come back before the Christmas break, but I would imagine sort of best case scenario right now for the Jets, we're probably looking at him back on the ice around that time and ramping up and returning either against the Minnesota Wild or the Oilers. I mean, I guess it would be great if he could play games before New Year's, I guess is the way it's going to sound.
Yeah, that would be a nice right after Christmas present for the Winnipeg Jets to be able to unwrap the return of their MVP for sure. So, look, Huss, the Jets do not have a 15-1 start this year to lean on. They have points in the bank, but not as many as they obviously would like, and certainly not as many as they did last year. They're in a dogfight, just like really every other NHL team right now, except for maybe the Colorado Avalanche, who really are the only team that look like they're kind of running away with anything. So these next 4 to 6 weeks are going to be very important. And all of a sudden, you're leaning on Eric Comrie to make a ton of starts. And the small sample size this season has been very encouraging. Last year the Jets couldn't score when Eric Comrie was in net. That hasn't been an issue so far this season in his 5 games. They have given him run support, and he's paid them back with some really good performances. Can he now withstand playing every other day, which is probably what's going to be required of him, and maybe even more than that, Huss? Like, depends how much they trust Thomas Milic.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute, Mike, because, I mean, that was the one thing. I mean, all these other teams are rotating through 3 goalies and guys going down. I mean, we've never for even a second talked about the depth of goaltending in Winnipeg because, I mean, basically Hellebuyck was, the Iron Man of the position.
We barely talk about the number 2 guy, let alone number 3.
Yeah, like they tell us, Eric Comrie's going to start. All righty. But I mean, I've been digging a little bit more into Milic, and last night gave up 1 goal and a win over the Chicago Wolves for the Manitoba Moose. Really nice numbers to start this season: a 2.14 goals against average, a 9.21 save percentage, and this is a guy that's played at a very high level, has represented Team Canada before. Pretty incredible opportunity for a young goalie like that. Will come into a situation and presumably get his first NHL action, knowing that as long as Hellebuyck and Comrie are ahead of him on the depth chart, these opportunities won't come along very often.
No, you're right. And I was at the Moose game last night. Huss, I sent myself down to the American Hockey League last night, conditioning assignment. Obviously, I had a good performance because I'm back up in the show tonight. By the way, Scott Arneil was actually at the Moose game last night as well, and
I'll bet he was.
And yeah, well, and so was Wade Flaherty. And now in hindsight, I can see why they were there. But it's funny, Scott Arneil, he saw me walk into the press box, and he's like, "What the hell are you doing here?" And I told him that I had been demoted to the AHL to work on my game. and he had a good laugh at that. So, yeah, Thomas Milic was outstanding last night. 28 of 29. I would say, Huss, I don't think they track high danger chances in the AHL. I feel like 15 of those 28 saves he made were what would constitute high danger, especially in the third period where the Moose, you talk about sitting on a 2-1 lead, the Moose didn't get a shot in the final 22 and a half minutes of the game. Their last shot in the game came with 2.5 minutes left in the second period. They didn't get a shot at all in the third. The ice was completely tilted, and Thomas Milic was he saved the day. He got those 2 points for them almost single-handedly.
Well, that's a nice way to finish off before you get your big call up, and certainly he's earned the opportunity. You didn't want to see it come up in this way, but
no.
Here it is. While we're talking about the Moose, I take it that Brad Lambert didn't have a massive third period to try to. Let's talk about his situation.
Yeah.
Obviously started this year, got into 4 games with the Winnipeg Jets, gets sent down as everyone expected, along with Parker Ford and Nikita Chibrikov as the health of the Winnipeg Jets improved. Reaction, and what are you hearing about this Brad Lambert situation with the Jets, who's apparently been his representatives have been given the opportunity to go find a trade?
Well, here's my take on it. For an organization like the Jets, and by the way, Scott Arneil didn't deny, and Frank Saravelli's is as good as they get. His report, obviously, and it's pretty clear the agent, where that came from. It came from the agent. And I wonder sometimes if agents don't do their players a disservice by putting stuff like that out. Here's the thing. If I'm the agent for Brad Lambert, I'm not sure why I'm throwing that little nugget out to an NHL insider yesterday. At least let Brad Lambert go down and play a few games with the Moose and hopefully play well. And then you can kind of pout about not getting an opportunity. But now what you've done, you've put this huge spotlight now on your player who, quite frankly, did not have a very good game last night for the Moose. And, if he has a couple more like that, then you're going to say, oh, well, he's got a bad attitude, he's pouting. Like, that's not the right way to go about this. And I just don't know why the agent necessarily did that. But I'll say this, Huss, for the Jets to tell the agent, okay, well, you can go ahead and see if you can find a trade partner. Teams don't usually do that. Most teams, they're not going to let a player or an agent dictate a potential trade. You know what that tells me, Huss? It tells me the Jets have already surveyed the market and there is no market. And they've probably told that to Brad Lambert and his agent. We'd go find you a spot if we could. We can't. Hey, if you guys want to go try, get back to us if you can find a willing partner that's willing to give something up. I mean, the Jets aren't, they're not going to just give him away for free, nor should they. That's draft capital. And while Brad Lambert hasn't turned into an NHL player yet, there's certainly glimpses, and there's no question he's got an impressive toolkit. But let's just face facts, Huss. This is a guy who scored 7 goals last year in the
20
AHL.
point drop from the year before and 14 less goals.
Now, the Moose were terrible last year. It wasn't a good environment. I'm not saying that's all Brad Lambert's doing. That wasn't a good environment for anybody, especially a young player. Brad Lambert, I thought he had a nice game against the Penguins here when he scored that first NHL goal. The Jets then went on that road trip. He played in LA. The whole team wasn't that great. I thought Lambert was fine. He then comes out of the lineup, though, and never gets back in. And I'm sure there was some frustration there. And the frustration was probably over, Ford and Chibrikov getting looks before he got another one. I just don't know. Like, this is the frustration I get when you're a young player and you're in an organization that's in a win now mode. They've got a lot of veteran guys. Who does Brad Lambert think that he should be replacing in this Winnipeg Jets lineup? Like, Tanner Pearson, who's an experienced NHL player. He's a Stanley Cup champion. He's not even playing tonight. He's a healthy scratch. Now that the Jets have Lowry back, now that they have Sandberg back, Koepke's back, Barron's back, Nyquist is back, where is Brad Lambert getting in this lineup right now? And so I don't know. I don't know how this really helps his cause by putting this out publicly. And we'll see what happens. You know, as I think Sean Reynolds mentioned this morning with our conversation with Scott Arneil, Logan Stanley was kind of in this spot a few years ago as well, and there was rumblings of him wanting a change of scenery. Life moves fast sometimes. Things can change. And I guess, you know, until and unless the Jets, or I guess now Lambert's agent, can find a trade partner that's willing to send something Winnipeg's way, he's going to have to bide his time with the Moose. And I dare say it would serve him well, Huss, on a lot of fronts, to go play well with the Moose, either to be ready for another potential call-up at some point or maybe boost his value when it comes to a change of scenery.
Yeah, it was a bit of a head scratcher, to be honest. I mean, it's one thing if you're playing so well,
right,
and there's no spot. That really hasn't happened yet. It was a really down year for him last year. And I mean, the one thing I wonder is like whether they said, hey, listen, this is our asking price for Brad Lambert. I mean, if you can have a prospect of equal value or,
right,
you know, a pick in and around where he was selected, for sure. I mean, Brad Lambert isn't walking onto very many rosters of the NHL and becoming a regular player. Like, I guess if you're the Calgary Flames or something like that, you're struggling, you know, maybe you'd, you know, consider getting a young player like that in. But I mean, the Flames sure as hell aren't trading any of their picks anytime soon.
No.
So, I mean, at a certain point, you have to go and earn it and do it. And, you know, it's just, it is too bad. I guess from the perspective of the agent, I mean, maybe the easiest way, instead of calling every team, is just to, hey, Frank, can you float this out and make sure everybody knows about it, and maybe there'll be some interest. But listen, this is going to go the same way as Ville Heinola. This is going to go the same way as Logan Stanley. I'm telling you right now, there's not a big lineup of teams to pay the price that the Jets would feel would be worth it to give up on Brad Lambert. And you know, we sort of move on from there. Mike, quick thoughts on the Adam Lowry signing, which was the big news, which seems like about a week ago now, but it was really like 36 hours ago.
Yeah, worth every penny, Huss. It really is. You know, some can debate, I guess, whether he's a $5 million player now or will he be in 5 years from now. With what's happening with the cap, and the value Adam Lowry not only brings to this organization and will continue to bring, but has brought to this organization. Like, here's the thing, Huss, and maybe there's a little bit of this worked into this contract. Lowry has been underpaid for a number of years now. Like, Adam Lowry made 3.25 last year. He's making 3.25 this year. By today's standards and for what Adam Lowry does, he's a far greater value than 3.25. So maybe this makes up a little bit of money that he's probably missed out on. But again, Adam Lowry is the face of the franchise. He is the heart and soul of the Winnipeg Jets. And I never had a shred of doubt that a deal was going to get done. It was funny to hear Adam Lowry. I don't know if you played the clip yet earlier, Huss, to just say how this went down. I guess I can say I actually saw the moment that Adam Lowry learned the deal was done, because I was at the Iceplex, or Hockey for All, on Wednesday. There was a few of us standing around as Lowry came off the ice at the end of practice, and Kevin Cheveldayoff was waiting there by the door. Now, Chevy had just been watching the practice, so it's not like he rushed over to Lowry, but he was there as Lowry skated off, and we watched them have a conversation, which ended with Chevy kind of giving Lowry a pat on the back. Well, we learned today from Adam Lowry that Chevy came over and had a quick chat with him and told him, or asked him, have you talked to your agent? And Adam said, no, not recently. And he said, well, you might want to give your agent a call, because of course the deal was done at that point. They just needed Lowry to obviously sign off on it. So that was the fun moment. And it sounds like this was not a hard negotiation. I think both parties, they recognize the value each other brings to the table. And so it's a great deal for the Jets. And it's another feather in the cap for the organization, that, let's face it, has come under attack in some ways for being an undesirable place. Well, you've now got 4 likely lifers in Hellebuyck, Scheifele, Connor, Lowry, and I wouldn't be surprised if Josh Morrissey also becomes a 5th lifer. These are the pillars of the organization, and I think it was a great signing for the Jets. And
it is somewhat ironic that it's coming on a day that the one that got away returns with the Carolina Hurricanes. And listen, I love Ehlers. I mean, I'll be on my feet welcoming him back there in the stands, along with, I would assume, pretty much everyone that's got tickets with us in the WST section tonight. I do find it a little ironic, though, that, for all the beating, Nikolaj Ehlers is a first-line player. He has to go somewhere else to play first-line minutes. It happened for about 3 weeks in Carolina, and he comes back on a really good team, playing power play, and on the second line, literally the exact situation that he had in Winnipeg, which is now repeating himself just for an Eastern Conference team.
What's his time? I think his average time on ice, last I looked, it's about 20 seconds difference from Winnipeg. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Nikolaj Ehlers Neil Pionk fight tonight. I don't know. Did you hear the clip from Ehlers this morning?
No, we're going to get to that after we play with you.
Just tremendous. Neil Pionk texted him the other night and has offered him his first fight as a Carolina Hurricane to throw down tonight. So we'll see if Ehlers takes him up on the offer.
Nice middleweight bout at Canada Life Center.
Well, I think Ehlers said his reply was asking or saying to Pionk that it would be Pionk's first NHL fight. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think Pionk has an NHL fight. We know Ehlers has fought.
Ehlers definitely has.
Oh, he's fought a bunch of times, and he's fought guys like bigger and stronger than him.
He's made some terrible decisions.
He has, but I think Ehlers implied that Pionk has never fought in the NHL, which actually surprises me if that's true. I'd have to go back and check.
He's certainly been involved in some scrums where he's taken roughing penalties and sort of pseudo fights where the refs get in. But yeah, I don't think we've ever, I can't remember off the top of my head. Remo, check hockeyfights.com under the Neil Pionk section and see if there is anything.
But yeah, it should be, I'm sure, I have no question he's going to get a great ovation tonight. And it makes for a great battle. Like, this will be a fun hockey game. Obviously, if you're the Jets, you wish Connor Hellebuyck was in net just because he's your guy. But look, the Eric Comrie era being 4 to 6 weeks, it starts tonight. And we'll see if he's up for the challenge against a really good Carolina team.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm glad you were at the Moose game last night, and I'm glad you came on today to talk to us because I'll tell you what, I'm actually, I was originally pretty freaked out knowing just how the Moose had done and, hadn't been really paying close attention to the goaltending and all that. But, when you look at the start that Milic has had this year, coming off a performance like he did last night where
he was great.
He basically just had to take care of business in the third period for a team that didn't have a shot, which is insane.
It is insane.
Maybe we're getting him at a good time, and he certainly will get a chance to show what he can do in the best league in the world.
I'm on the road trip starting next week, and I'm already looking to that game next Saturday in Nashville. I wonder if that might be Thomas Milic's NHL debut, because it's a back-to-back. I don't think you're playing him in Carolina next Friday, so that game in Nashville could be the debut. And I'm a sucker for NHL debuts. I love them. They're just a lot of fun. Usually I go meet the family of the player and chat with them. So, hey, I'm all up for a debut in Music City next Saturday.
Yes. Round up the Milic Mafia. Get to Nashville for next week. We can use that, Mike. That'll be the fanboys of Thomas Milic. who is going to be getting some NHL action very soon. But tonight, it's Eric Comrie's crease for the return of Nikolaj Ehlers, and life, something we never wanted to talk about on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Life without Connor Hellebuyck for an extended period of time begins tonight. Mike, thanks so much for doing this. Great to have you on the program as always.
Have a great, enjoy the game tonight. Have a great weekend.
You bet. There's Mike McIntyre. He'll be on the road with the Winnipeg Free Press. Join us from the road next week on the program. All right. Why not question of the day for not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray is this. It's a combo question. Just your thoughts on how the Jets can get through this next 4 to 6 weeks without Connor Hellebuyck. And the other side is, do you think that this Brad Lambert situation will be resolved in any other way than it did when Logan Stanley wanted to trade or Willie Hainela wanted to trade, in that there won't be a team looking to match the asking price that the Winnipeg Jets want for a talented young player, and they've got to earn their way back to the National Hockey League if they make it? Let us know in the chat right now. We will get to fan feedback for fansfirst.ca right now. Fans First, of course, your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market, where what you see is what you pay. No added fees. We got 450 in the chat, and there is a ton of comments coming in. Lots on the Brad Lambert situation. T. Will, the Jets took a shot on Lambert. No one was all that interested in drafting him in the first round. He lost a lot of cachet playing in Finland, and this is how he repays them for drafting him. Mary Jane Lambeau's not mature enough, both mentally and physically. Let's see right here. Casual Canuck, can't blame the kid, though. It's his career. Let him play somewhere else. I guess the question I have is there, do we think there's another team in the NHL that Brad Lambert walks in and is better than the guys on their lineup? I guess there's a few bad teams that maybe there's a spot, young rebuilding teams. And listen, for young guy, I don't dispute. If there was a chance to get to a place like Calgary and have a regular spot and try to establish yourself, fantastic. But again, the Winnipeg Jets aren't just saying, yeah, okay, here's your walking papers, go. We'll take a 5th round pick for you. He was on the team for the first 18 games of the year. He played 4 games. They see value in Brad Lambert. Whether an NHL team has the gumption to go for it and pay the price will be interesting. Elias McCracken, play better. Here's SSVY. I'm even surprised I'm saying this, but I'm not worried. Comrie has been playing really good. And then the casual Canuck, I'm not sure whether this is tongue-in-cheek. Another black mark on Chevy, I guess. Guys, this is a really good team that is trying to win hockey games, and they feel that they've got better players right now in the lineup than the ones that just got sent to the Moose. So there we are. So anyways, keep it coming in. And Frog Splasher, that's right. Stan requested a trade once upon a time. And someone else saying, ironically, Frog Splasher, Stan would actually have trade value now, though. LOL. BA split. Lambert and Villy for ... Not much. Keep them coming in for fan feedback for Fans First, by fans, for fans, no fees. Fansfirst.ca is where you'll get the site. All right. We are going to hear from Nikolaj Ehlers before we drop the marbles and do our cool bet lines. But let's take a quick break from the Jets for a couple minutes to welcome in our guy, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, on one of the busiest shows that we've had all year long. LeeHacksawHamilton.com is where you'll find him. Check out the YouTube page as well and give him a sub. Saw, what is up, my friend? Great to have you back on the show. Oh, hold on a sec. Remo, you got to unmute there, Lee.
Yeah, he's good.
Perfect. Lee, what's up?
Great to see you back after a long drinking weekend at the Grey Cup. I know you.
Oh, dude, it was... the Grey Cup was amazing. It feels like about a month ago now. Was admittedly a little under the weather after it, but that often happens from when it gets a little colder, and Winnipeg showed off great. Did you get a chance to see it at all down south?
So busy, no, but I tried to follow it on the internet, and bottom line is Davis Alexander is a pretty good young quarterback, but you can't turn the ball over 3 times in the most important game of the season, and that was probably the difference. And how cool is it for Trevor Harris? He's been all over the roadmap in the CFL. He's got 3 Grey Cup rings. What a really nice career there. So it's, you have to follow it closely from the States and try to access the games when you can. But I pay attention to the CFL a lot, in addition to everything I do with the NFL and all the other stuff I do on my sportscast and on my website and on TV. But you can't turn it over 3 times in the most important game of the year.
No.
That's the difference in the game.
I mean, listen, they got themselves right back in the game, fumbled on the goal line on one of these damn backup QB sneaks, and it ended up being the undoing. And, Harris gets his first ring as a starter and probably walks right into the Hall of Fame at some point. Lee, let's get to the big stories as we get into Week 12 in the NFL. And first off, last night, listen, if people weren't paying attention to what the Houston Texans are doing on the defensive side of the football, they got a crash course in it last night. Nobody more than Josh Allen, who's lucky to have survived last night's game. Very tough night at the office for the Buffalo Bills, who now are probably, like the Chiefs, looking at a wild card spot as the Patriots are comfortably in first place, could go to 10-2 with the win over the Bengals this weekend, but sacked 8 times, no receivers getting open. A really concerning performance for the Bills. And meanwhile, the Texans have gotten off the mat after that 0-3 start and look like they could be in a wild card team as well in the AFC.
Well, let's just start on the Houston side of the dollar bill. They had the lousy start, a lot of problems in the interior of the offensive line. They've kind of traded for players and fixed that. Defense has always been good, and now defense has really become dominant. They're like number 1 in virtually all the statistical categories. They in Denver in the National Football League. And for Josh Allen, I mean, he got sacked 8 times. He got hit 12 other times in the pocket, and there were 5 additional pressures, and it led to 3 critical turnovers. All of a sudden, there's springing leaks everywhere in Buffalo. They can't stop people. Offensive line has not played well. Please tell me in the last month where the wide receivers have gone and disappeared to, because there's been no consistency for that quarterback. And you add on to this, they're in the midst of a stretch in which they play 4 road games in 5 weeks. So, yeah, Hustler, you're correct. Buffalo is in the same street corner now with Kansas City, looking at having to claw their way in as a wild card. And you mentioned New England, and New England plays Cincinnati. New England's got a really easy schedule over the next month of the season. I mean, it is conceivable, Hustler, the Patriots might be 13-2 in a couple of weeks. Just think about that compared to where they were. So Houston's coming fast. They're going to obviously have to claw their way back into the wild card race, but they still got games at home. Buffalo's got issues to sort out, and obviously there's some other teams in the league, aka Kansas City, they got problems too.
I'm going to get to my Chud's Powersports Power Poll in a minute once we finish up, but you mentioned, the AFC overall is just, it's incredible, Lee. And every year there's the old worst of first teams. But right now we look at the division leaders, and I was just looking at the Cool Bet odds. These teams are all heavy, heavy favorites to win their divisions. The Patriots are like minus 400, and they can go to 10-2 with the win over the Bengals this week. The Indianapolis Colts have a 2-game lead on both the Jags and the Texans right now at 8-2. They're in Arrowhead. The Denver Broncos, coming off that win at home against the Chiefs last week, have a stranglehold on the AFC West and look to break the 9 straight division titles for Kansas City. And the Chicago Bears are in first place in the NFC North, which is wild considering the way they've won all these games. Of those teams, which is the most for real team? And is there a team that you think is a bit of a paper tiger based on what they've done so far?
Well, for real is Philadelphia, because they still have the trophy on the front desk of the coach.
Yeah, they're not in this conversation. I'm talking about these teams that have come, that were all like long shots to even make the playoffs, that are now winning their divisions. New England, Denver, Indy, Chicago.
New England seems to be the real deal. 8-game winning streak, easy schedule. Drake May has turned out to be a big-time player. I look at Drake May now, and it kind of reminds me of a young Ben Roethlisberger. He's got 20 touchdowns, only 5 picks. I don't think they have a great run game. I don't know that they have a very good wide receiver group, but yet they just continue to win. Defense is really playing well under Mike Vrabel. So I think New England is the real deal. Indianapolis, as long as they can keep Daniel Jones and the heavy-duty running back Jonathan Taylor standing, Indy is going to be in the playoffs, going to make some things happen. I don't know if they got enough to go deep in the AFC, but they're pretty good. Bo Nix is hot and cold at quarterback, but the one thing that's always there every Sunday for Sean Payton is that defense. 49 quarterback sacks, and on third down conversions, the defense is allowing opposing quarterbacks 28% conversion rate. You just don't see that in modern-day NFL football. So, I mean, Denver's playing well. They've won 8 in a row. And Chicago, nobody in the country down here is talking about the Bears. They're not talking any longer about Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson, and all the conflicts and struggles they had in camp and in the beginning of the season. They've really come together. That might be a paper tiger. They're 7-3. They've won 3 in a row. I do think they have a fairly dangerous, high-octane offense. I don't know if their defense is strong enough, but I would have to say New England, Indy, and Chicago have to be the surprises in the NFL this season.
Yeah, no doubt. As we look at the games this week, and I'll tip my hand, the Rams get the number 1 spot in the power poll. I said it was going to be the winner of that Rams-Seattle game last week that I was going to put at number 1 because I think the Eagles, while they're still the team to beat and they're getting the wins, it just doesn't – they seem off a little bit. And listen, we'll see whether they can really continue to build as we get towards the playoffs. They'll certainly win that division. But some huge games this week. The Rams have Tampa Bay, and I don't think anybody saw this coming, but the Chiefs hosting the 8-2 Colts at Arrowhead, beginning a 3-game stretch with their season on the line. Colts, a short week, and the Cowboys on Thanksgiving, and then that insane Texans defense that we saw murder the Bills last night coming to Arrowhead the week before. Just a quick thought on that game, and of course the Eagles and the Cowboys, which is always an interesting game in the NFC East.
Okay, let's start Indy, Kansas City, just off my notebook. Indy's coming off the bye week. Daniel Jones has thrown for almost 2,700 yards. Jonathan Taylor's having a lifetime career season. He's got over 1,100 yards. He's averaging 6 yards per carry, and he's doing heavy duty. I mean, he's got a lot of touches. So Indy's the real deal, complete team, unique aspect of the Colts. They've pretty much stayed free of injury. Not many guys in the NFL can say that. Kansas City's offense is cooking, 374 yards a game, but it's strictly one-dimensional. They just can't run the football. So there's an awful lot on Mahomes' shoulder. And tell you what, look at this Kansas City schedule. Just put this up and don't break your computer when you see it. Kansas City plays the Colts at Dallas, Houston, Chargers, Denver. Yikes. They're 5-5, and that schedule is directly ahead of them. Philadelphia, Dallas. Here's an interesting side note. Dak Prescott at home against anybody in the NFC East is 21-2. How about that? So Philadelphia is going to have a challenge here. There's no doubt about the fact that the Eagles are really rolling with Jalen Hurts, the 3 receivers, including the tight end. Saquon Barkley starting to have some good games. But there's a big issue in Philly. They've lost their center, they've lost their right tackle, and their right guard is constantly hurt. So when you talk about that Philly doesn't look right, and I kind of agree with you, that's a byproduct of so many injuries in the offensive front. But the flip side, that defense is really, really playing well. And I'll tell you, Dallas is going to challenge that defense, though, because they're going to try to go get Dak Prescott, and you have to get Dak Prescott because his 2 wide receivers have combined for 98 catches, and CeeDee Lamb and Pickens are averaging 15 yards per catch. Think about that stat. So that's good. The Dallas-Philly is just going to be a monster game. Rams, Tampa Bay. The Buccaneers are hanging on for dear life. Baker Mayfield's had a really great season, 17 touchdowns, 3 picks. But all of his skill guys are hurt, and yet he's hanging in there trying to win games for them. But he's going against a Rams team, and Matthew Stafford, 27 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions. Their defense has got 27 sacks. They play like their hair's on fire. I think it'll be a long afternoon for Tampa Bay. So those are the marquee games that, on everybody's schedule.
Yeah, it should be a good one. And, of course, we got U.S. Thanksgiving coming up next weekend with some big games, including that Chiefs-Cowboys game, as you mentioned. And, Lee, just before we go, I know you've been banging the table all year. Let Shedeur play. Your guy, Shedeur Sanders, finally gets his first NFL start against the Raiders. I hope he's familiar with Max Crosby because he's going to be all afternoon long.
Well, I'm not sure that I've been banging the table that Shedeur.
I was tongue-in-cheek.
But, I mean, everybody who listens to my podcast has a different opinion about what comes out of my mouth. I do cover the full spectrum. Shedeur, here's the reality. That we're 2/3 through the season. He has to play because everybody else is hurt. 2/3 through the season, the coaching staff obviously made the opinion he's not ready to play, and they're with him every day, every minute of every day. I talked to NFL scouts coming out of the draft, and I said, how did this happen? How does a guy go from first-round draft pick, falls all the way into the 5th round? And you and I talked about this before. He kind of killed himself with his attitude and the way he acted around people during all the private interviews and who he didn't want to work out for. And he and his dad, Dion, were trying to dictate who's going to draft him. So that's an issue. The other issue that NFL personnel people tell me, and they look at more video than I do, that he played a junk offense at Colorado. It was kind of freelance football. He played a junk offense at Jackson State, and he piled up all these massive statistics. Well, in the NFL, you can't play that way because everybody in the NFL's got great cornerbacks and linebackers and safeties that are going to make plays on the stuff that you throw. So he's not ready, but he's going to have to play. And, he came off the bench last week, and it was 4 for 16, and he was miserable. So he'll face the Raiders. Raiders have a fierce pass rush. Raiders have nothing beyond that. The back end of the Raiders defense, linebackers, secondary, just really shabby. And it's been a shocker that anything Pete Carroll would be involved in would be this bad. And the Raiders roster is ragtag, and Geno Smith has really regressed because he doesn't have any help around him. So you're correct. Shedeur Sanders, that's number 98 over there. Max Crosby, he's going to be in front of your face all day. So we'll see how the kid does. But, the coaches know these players better than I know them, and I have opinions on virtually everybody, and I study all this stuff. But they're with him every minute of every day, and he wasn't ready. Now he has to be ready because of all the injuries. So we'll see what happens over the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season, or a week from now if Dylan Gabriel comes out of the concussion protocol, whether Gabriel goes back in as a starting quarterback. But, he's the other draft pick, and he's been overwhelmed too. He hasn't done anything statistically that says, wow, we can win with him. He just kind of hangs in there. We'll see where Shedeur can deliver for the Browns fans, and we'll see who's booing who come Sunday night.
LeeHacksawHamilton.com is where you're going to find it all, folks. Every day, hit it up. You'll be the smartest sports fan in your group with all the talk for the bar or wherever you're getting together with your friends to do it. Happy Thanksgiving in advance. I don't know whether we'll do Friday next week or if you want to do it a little early, but big week in the National Football League. So we'll look forward to catching you then. And, of course, as well with the O Canada Network joining you over on the YouTube channel. Have an awesome weekend, pal. Thanks for doing this.
My pleasure. We'll talk to you next Friday. Good. Thanks, man.
You got it. There is the man himself, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. You can also give him a follow on X at Hacksaw1090. All right. I promised you that we'd crank out our NFL Power Poll for Chud's Powersports, Manitoba's #1 power sports superstore, and having just won, congratulations again, the dealership of the year. No surprise, the Chud family's been doing this for 80 years. I think their staff's got about 140 years total experience putting it together, helping people get great deals and the right machines to make the most of their time on the trails and on the snow. ChudsPowersports.com for all of their incredible offerings. The Power Poll looks like this. The #1 team on the list, I just told you, it is the Los Angeles Rams. They got the win over the Seattle Seahawks. Sammy Darts with 4 picks last week. I think they rolled this week over Tennessee. Rams have the Bucks this week, but on account of that win, the Rams are #1 on the Power Poll. The New England Patriots can be a 10-2 team if they hold up and beat the Cincinnati Bengals this week. Got to give a nod to what the Patriots have done so far. And while the Eagles have not really looked themselves, they just continue to get the job done. They're #3 at 8-2. Now, I begrudgingly have to put the Broncos on this list. Did they look terrible 2 weeks ago, barely beating the Oakland Raiders on Thursday Night Football? Yes. But did they hold serve and take care of the Kansas City Chiefs in the fourth quarter, led by Bo Nix, playing a hell of a lot better against the Chiefs than he did against the Raiders? They did. So I can't believe I'm doing it, but the Denver Broncos, #4 on the Power Poll. And the Indianapolis Colts, albeit having to do it in Kansas City, get the Chiefs this week. They're 8-2. They round out the Power Poll right now. So 5 2-loss teams remaining. They're all in the Power Poll, led by the Los Angeles Rams. That's your NFL Chud Sports Power Poll, brought to you by the good folks at Chud's, who, of course, I believe are ready for the marble race coming up in a few minutes as well. Listen, we've got lots to do. This show might go a little longer than normal because I do want to get to some of Nikolaj Ehlers. We will have the marble race coming up in a few minutes, but do want to thank our friends at Clean Line for their support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. And, of course, the Clean Line line's getting a bit of a shakeup today because Tanner Pearson is going to be out and Cole Koepke getting a spot on the fourth line with Morgan Barron and Gustav Nyquist. Top three lines staying the same for the Jets tonight on the Clean Line lines. Connor, Scheifele, Velarde, Nemetsnikov, Taves, and Perfetti. Lowry with Niederreiter and Iafallo. And the defense pairings will stay the same. Jamo and Dylan DeMello, Dylan Sandberg and Neil Pionk, Logan Stanley and Luke Shen. There you have it. And look at the goalies. First time I can ever remember that Connor Hellebuyck was not on that list. The biggest change on the Clean Line lines tonight is not one of the lines or the defense pairing. It's in the net. Eric Comrie getting the start, and Thomas Milic, for the first time in his career, will back up in an NHL game when we look forward to seeing Milic some point soon. Of course, the Clean Line lines and WST supported by Clean Line Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical, your local leader for over 40 years, and the official plumbing service of the Winnipeg Jets. Captain approved. And of course, the captain is back and has the back of the Winnipeg Jets. Clean Line has your back with 24/7 emergency service. Find out more today at cleanline.ca. Looking for a great spot to watch the game tonight? Head on down to your local Boston Pizza. Pick a player games for Winnipeg Jet games, for all games at all local BPs, where you can spin the prize wheel and win some great Boston Pizza food and merch. If your player scores a goal, of course, they've got great promos as well on for National Football League action, especially the primetime games. And while you're there, check out the new Flight Club menu, the wing flights, pizza flights, bite flights, fry flights, and your chance to win the Flight Club grand prize of a trip for two to see the Jets and Ducks in Anaheim in late February. Pop by your local BP tonight if you're not heading to the game. And listen, there's I know there'll still be lots of Connor Hellebuyck jerseys under the tree for young Jet fans this year for Christmas. If you are getting ready to take care of that Christmas list, get down to Royal Sports and take care of it all. You got the best selection of Winnipeg Jets merchandise in town, bomber gear in the CFL, the entire National Hockey League, the best in NFL jerseys, hats, toques, and merchandise, and of course, international soccer, Team Canada gear. They've got it all at Royal Sports, not to mention the number one spot for hockey equipment in town, full equipment, goalie gear, the best selection of sticks, skates, not to mention pucks, stick tape, skate sharpening. It's all waiting for you at Royal Sports at 750 Pembina Highway. Follow them on Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. All right, we're going to hear from Nikolaj Ehlers. We'll hit on the cool bet lines. Right now, though, let's give a big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, Marble's coming up in about 10, but we have to hear from Nikolaj Ehlers today. He, of course, spoke. Shout out to our own Connor Rabchak, who was down at the rink and got all of this for us, our Jets reporter on it. And, usually the focus, and today certainly it was on the home dressing room, but as Mike mentioned, one of the busiest days I think we've seen in years on a game day with the Hellebuyck news, the Brad Lambert, topic, the Adam Lowry's extension. But on the other side, it's the first time, and it's going to be weird, I think, for all of us to see Ehlers and the visitors bench playing for the visitors after an incredible run here as a beloved member of the Winnipeg Jets. Ehlers met the media today and was asked if he had this date circled on his calendar.
It's no secret. It's pretty cool to be back. Exciting, and definitely one that I was looking forward to, but also getting a little nervous here.
Yeah. 2, 1.
All right. Now, great mic placement, by the way, by Connor today. Ehlers was asked if he talked to anyone about how to approach a very unique game like this that might happen only once in your career.
Talked to a few guys. I mean, everybody's different, right? Everybody's going to react a little different to games like this, and I have no idea how it's going to be for me. It's still going to be a battle out there for 2 points, but I think the first few shifts are going to be, just worrying about passing to the right guy.
Are you fairly confident you will not get booed, that you will get cheered and revered?
I don't know, to be honest.
Why would anybody want to boo you?
Everybody has their own opinions and feelings, and, all I can say is I spent 10 years here, and I loved it here. So obviously I'm hoping for something, and you can guess yourself what that is, but, it's been nice to be back and see, the guys and all the people around. It's special.
Oh man, it's sad to hear this. We knew this day was coming, but he was such a great Jet and such a likable guy, but he's on the other team tonight. We talked earlier with Mike Maniscalco. It did take a little time for Ehlers to start, being Nikolaj Ehlers. The points were very scarce early on. Been on a bit of a heater lately. Here's Ehlers on the challenges of adjusting to his new team in Carolina.
Everything is brand new, and we have a great group of guys in there. At the same time, there's guys here that I spent 10 years with, and you try to get comfortable as quick as possible in every single setting. At home, finding the grocery store, not having to use GPS every time. Here I knew my way around, so everything is brand new. But I think the organization has taken me in and welcomed me great. So it's still going to take some time for me to get 100% comfortable and know my way and know how things work, but it's been great so far.
Yeah, how would you describe the process of acclimatizing to a new team?
The off-ice stuff has been with the guys and everything has been great. They, like I said, great group. The on-ice stuff, it's been good games and bad games, but I'm settling in more and more, both on and off the ice, and hopefully it only gets better from here.
All right, here's a little bit more from Nick, and this is one that I think a lot of people were interested to find out what he had to say. He was asked if there's a memory about Winnipeg and his time in Winnipeg as a Jet that sort of sticks out to him as he looks back.
I can't pick one thing. I've said this too many times to count. I loved it here, and I love the guys here. I love the organization is fantastic. The people around the team, the fans that we had here, it was great. So I had 10 fantastic years here, and again, it's the place that I've lived the longest my whole life. So it still feels like home.
Remo, let's get to number 6 right now. And by the way, just listening to that, and I don't know if it's any different for you guys, because we hear, and I believe it's all sincere, that, love the playing here, loved his time here and stuff. I still don't really know why Nikolaj Ehlers left. But it is what it is. He's now a Carolina Hurricane, and he was asked if there's a guy he's looking forward to going up against on his former team tonight.
Neil Pionk, probably, to be honest. Texted me the other night and asked me if I wanted my first fight in a Canes jersey. So told him, well, that would be your first in the NHL.
He mentioned the other day after practice that he had spent a lot of time beside you in the airplane, that he had some inside info he would not share with us. Are you prepared for a long night of getting your ear talked?
No. I mean, they're going to be talking. It's going to be pretty funny at times, for sure. But again, there's not one guy on that team that I don't like. So it's, I know probably what some of the guys are going to try and do, and it's going to be more fun than anything.
All right. And here's one more from Ehlers. Kind of interesting week for him to come back in that Adam Lowry was yet another Jet to sign an extension to stay with Winnipeg. Here's what Nick had to say about his former teammate and the Winnipeg Jet captain signing up for 5 more years in the Peg.
First of all, fantastic. I know how much he wanted to stay here, and I know how much he means to Winnipeg in general, what he does for the team and off the ice as well in this city. And, he's a character that goes out there and works his ass off every single shift, every practice, and is a leader in that room. A guy you can always go to if there's anything. He's the guy that I went to whenever there was something, whenever I had a question. Also some ridiculous questions. So he probably got a little annoyed at some point, but he was the guy for me. So I'm very happy he got what he wanted, and that Winnipeg got him for the next 6 years.
All right, so there it is. The dashing Dane himself, Nikolaj Ehlers. Going to be weird seeing him in a Canes uni tonight, but I know he'll be welcomed back very nicely, I think, by the vast majority of Winnipeg Jet fans tonight. And I know there'll be money on the board, and hopefully that money stays in Nick Ehlers' pockets tonight, and the Winnipeg Jets can get one over on their former teammate and find a way to win without Connor Hellebuyck, as Eric Comrie, of course, making that start. One more clip for you, and again, it's sort of, as I said, almost yesterday's news. We talked about it plenty yesterday, but got to hear from Adam Lowry today. Here's just a quick one from the captain on signing the extension here with the Jets.
First of all, I'm thrilled to be staying. Like I said at the gala, Winnipeg was the only team I really wanted to go to. I want to stay, same organization. Had the privilege of playing here my whole career and want to finish my career here. So to get something done and to have it announced at the gala and see that video and what Chipper said up on stage was pretty special. So kind of a unique circumstance in how it was announced and things like that. But no, it was pretty cool to celebrate it a little with a lot of True North's biggest supporters.
All right, so there is the captain, Adam Lowry, who's back, and going to be a good one tonight. Now, I do want to shout out our guy, Big Maple, in chat. Big Maple, very loyal lock shopper as well. Big Maple dropped in a gift and a super chat to everyone to Let's Ride as we get into the Coolbet lines. I've often told you one of the best promos that Coolbet has is the $25 free bet on the UFC. And I will admit, I'm not an avid UFC guy. I'll watch some of the big fights. Maple's all over it, and he has fed me many, many winners over the last year plus. He's popped into chat. You might want to write this down, folks. A UFC 3-ligger with Bezcat, Freeman, and Mikado Gary. It's plus 356. And again, what you're going to do is you'll see a little thing. You bet $25 on the UFC. Whether you win or lose, you will get a $25 free bet on Monday once the weekend is over. So to me, it's a no-brainer. Maple's the man. I'm already in on Bezcat from him. So we'll top it up with a little bit of that. Appreciate you, Maple. And don't forget, it's early. It starts at 8 a.m. tomorrow because it's in Qatar. So get those in today. As far as tonight's activity goes, and again, for the full NFL slate and our favorite picks, go to the YouTube channel. We've got the WST winners episode from this morning with myself, Pat, and Jake with our favorite spread picks, our favorite props, our touchdowns, and those will all be up in the Coolbet combo cards in the exclusives. We've got 4 games tonight, though, in the National Hockey League. It starts off with the Blackhawks and Sabres. By the way, Remis has a take on Connor Bedard, who lost his mind last night. An incredible memory moment from Remis as well, if you saw it on Twitter. Buffalo's minus 182 tonight. The Blackhawks plus 153. Buffalo just lost to Calgary, who was on the second end of back-to-back, so I don't trust the Sabres at all anymore. They're on the list for me. Pittsburgh is at home to the Wild. Minus 125 for Pittsburgh. Minnesota plus 106. Go Pens, go. And the Jets, for the first time, I might want to say this year, could be wrong, but the Jets a home dog tonight. Plus 130 for Winnipeg to win. With Eric Comrie in the net. Canes minus 154. And the late game out on the West Coast, the LA Kings minus 192. Boston is plus 162. I don't believe it's up yet, but check the exclusives. Again, I did hit that 12-1-er on Tuesday. People wanted another Jets exclusive for tonight, so I've locked this in. I don't know what the number is going to be, but we've got the Jets money line, which is plus 130. I'm going with the Gabriel Velarde goal tonight, and the Velarde number is plus 225. And we're also going to add in a Josh Morrissey assist, which is plus 102. So all plus money numbers. This will be excellent if it comes out. As I say, I just sent it in, Reem, so it won't be up there yet. But I would suggest before the game, we'll probably put it out on Twitter as well. But Jets money line, Gabe Velarde to score, Morrissey to get an assist. That is going to be in the exclusives under the Winnipeg Sports Talk tag coming up a little later on. If you do go to the combo cards, you'll see our WST combos from the show this morning, which will be there for you. There's a bunch of hockey stuff up right now, but we do have, I'm just looking, our spread picks. We're taking Detroit minus 10.5, Chiefs minus 2.5, Cardinals plus 3.5. That's boosted to plus 482. Our touchdown scorers, T. Higgins, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Trey McBride, boosted to 848. And we also put together some dogs. 3 underdogs to win. Pittsburgh, Arizona, and Atlanta. That's up to plus 1154. We got a prop parlay in the exclusives. It's all locked and loaded for the weekend. And again, if you haven't used CoolBet before, use the promo code WST for a 100% bonus on your first deposit up to $200. And don't forget, our next WST poker tourney at CoolBet is going to be on Tuesday night. Remo, quickly, give us your take on Connor Bedard from last night.
Yeah, so I don't know if anyone saw this last night. Connor Bedard in a tie game on a breakaway, 4 minutes left, skating down the ice, and who is it, Lindgren of Seattle, goes in, gives him a whack on the hands just as he's about to begin his move on the breakaway. Bedard, the young superstar, absolutely livid at the non-call. Clearly a whack on the hands. That is a slashing penalty, borderline penalty shot. Bedard, mid-play, goes up to the ref. What are you doing? Starts pointing at him, going absolutely bonkers. The ref, he's seen enough of this. Gives him an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. Seattle gets a power play, score, go on, and win the game 3-2. I don't know where you stand on Connor Bedard's actions. I'm very torn, Hustler. You got 2 minutes for abusive officials. I think if the abuse was kind of deserved, it was clearly a call, and too often you see obvious calls, they don't get called. And there's no accountability by the NHL in any of this ever. They don't put out a statement saying we were wrong like the NBA does. The officials are not available to the media. It's frustrating. And I understand Connor Bedard's frustration. You want to see that passion. So on one hand, I do enjoy that. However, it was during the play. It was excessive. You're Connor Bedard. You're setting an example for young kids. Reffing, very challenging. I don't want to see a league, Huss, where everyone starts whining every time they get a non-call. Sets a bad precedent.
Well,
He's
you
got to
can't
be
get in
better.
the ref's face like while
No.
the play's going
It
on.
was-
At least wait till the whistle.
It was
I mean,
handled.
that was what was wild about it.
Yes, it was handled very, very poorly. Love the passion. I think there needs to be some accountability, but in the end, he was wrong. He was very wrong. He took responsibility after. Wouldn't talk about what he mentioned. I like the passion. You know, sometimes in the playoffs, I want to see a whole team just stop playing at some of these bad, inconsistent calls and say, what are we doing here? You're letting some things go in the first period or calling in the first period and then letting it go. It's ridiculous. So I can see I understand the frustration.
Yeah, the most incredible thing about it all was that you somehow translated that play last night into a Jet memory from, what was this, 2014? Melker Karlsson getting a penalty shot on Andre Pavlik. I mean, for all the stuff that we don't remember from recent things, I have no idea how you pulled that one out of your, where.
Yeah, and also, Bedard, I think he was upset about a non-call on a hit on Burakovsky earlier in the game. So I like Bedard not taking any BS, but save it for a whistle. You don't do it during the play. And yeah, there was a play from 2017 where Jacob Trouba is back-checking Melker Karlsson of the San Jose Sharks and hit Karlsson's stick with his own stick, doing a stick check, and they called a penalty shot. So you see some soft. This is going back to 2017. I just wanted to show everyone on Twitter that I have such a great memory when it comes to the Jets. So I tweeted out this play, but sometimes the officiating very inconsistent. You see it with goaltender interference. You see it with penalty shots. It's going to happen. I like the passion from Bedard. Save it for the whistle. You can't go mid-play and just stop playing, although it was entertaining.
All right.
And it's an entertainment league.
Yeah, well, hey, listen, it was entertaining watching him freak out. You don't want to get on the ref's bad side, the list in the ref group chat that you're mouthy and taking penalties. So,
well,
anyways.
They know. They keep tabs on this stuff. He's never going to get a call the rest of the year now. Well, and also, speaking of refs, remember when we saw Mason Marchment the other week with Seattle? Remember when he slashed a ref in the playoffs and there was nothing that happened? That was one of the more ridiculous things. We should talk about that more.
Let's get to the marbles. It is late. We got a big crew today. We will get that loaded up. Locked and loaded. But first off, we cannot start the marbles without a little Tristan Rivers music to get us going. It's marbles theme time, and then we will drop them right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk.
I'm going to pick a good one. Hold on. I'll pick, I think we've gone through a lot of these. Well, we'll go with the original.
All right, Remo, with packed house today. I mean, I appreciated the bump in people joining us live today. I kind of hate to do it on the back of an injury to Connor Hellebuyck, but I'm sure that means we've got a pretty big marble race for today.
Yeah, let me just double check that has been working. Oh yeah, I was worried. Our numbers have been kind of less than they were for the playoffs and stuff, and that's to be expected when you're in, it's the beginning of the season, but huge bump today. So thanks, Connor Hellebuyck, I guess.
Yeah, well, no, listen, just I know
guess.
there was some bad news today. Just make sure you're here on Monday, hopefully, to talk about two big wins behind Eric Comrie on the program. But hey, we appreciate everyone jumping us on a little later on if they're watching it. Of course, you can get it on the podcast. But right now, this is the one thing you can't do on the podcast, and that is be a part of the world-famous marble race. Shout out to our friends at Shipman Associates. We've got a WST hoodie for the winner of today's race. And how many marbles today?
275. And you want me to put you in, Hustler?
Yes, please do.
Put an Adam Lowry. And someone
Definitely.
suggested Connor Hellebuyck's knee.
No. Hellebuyck's knee is being taken care of right now. He'll get a welcome back marble when he comes back into it. But you know what? Let's give Comrie and Milic marbles, like just good karma marbles. As Milic gets his first call up to the National Hockey League and presumably playing, and Eric Comrie, our torchbearer, and the guy that will hold down the fort for the Winnipeg Jets while Helly is on the mend after the surgery that goes tomorrow. We should probably put a marble in for Pete McDonald, the doctor who's doing the surgery tomorrow. Maybe the most important guy in town. He often is. We don't talk enough about our doctors and the people that take care of us. We're now taking care of our most important asset as hockey fans here in the city of Winnipeg. Connor Hellebuyck. But anyways, of course, best of luck to the procedure tomorrow. He said it's a minor one. And 4 to 6 weeks. It'll be a Christmas gift for Winnipeg Jet fans. The return of Connor Hellebuyck, hopefully right in and around Christmas or after the Christmas break. Right on. Let's do a Dylan track today if you haven't picked one already.
I just picked one out, not a Dylan track, but it was a
new
custom track. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
This was a good one. It was Flying Sparkle Race.
Ooh, the Flying Sparkle Race today. And welcome. I know a lot of marbles today, pushing 300. So maybe there's some of you that haven't done it before. Welcome. All you need to do is put in exclamation mark marbles. And now you will have a 1 in whatever it is, 270, 280 chance to win today. A very, very prestigious award. A hoodie that cannot be purchased. It can only be won on Friday afternoons here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Just while Remis gets this up, we do have a couple others that we've put in. This was our prop parlay for this weekend. Keaton Mitchell, 22 or more receiving yards. Rushing yards, I should say. I think he's going to get some nice looks after Derrick Henry. They should smash the Jets. Mahomes, 24 or more rushing yards. And Trey McBride, 77 plus receiving yards. That one's plus 625. That is in the exclusives. And then Pat Gregoire did a bit of a tease. Lions to win by 7. Chiefs plus 3.5. Bucks plus 13.5. That's plus 160. All right, let's see this course.
It's loading now, and I should mention, Huss, after I'll be rating Tristan Rivers' band 9 Lives has a new video out. He's the one who does the Marble Race songs.
Love it.
And if you stay and watch, there's an Easter egg for Winnipeg Sports Talk in the video. And if let's say you comment and you catch the Easter egg, or you DM them and catch the Easter egg, he might pick you to request a new Marble Race theme song. So stay tuned and watch this
is amazing.
video.
All right, so there you have it. Stay right after we're done. We'll hit the premiere of Tristan's new video. Keep your eyes out for the WST Easter egg. This is like, now becoming part of the Swifties. Since Taylor joined the Chiefs Kingdom, I've learned all about these Easter eggs. So I'm now really excited to see this video on top of just the greatness that Tristan puts out all the time. All right, here we go, folks. Finishing off the week. Helly, get well soon. We'll be here for you. Fresh night. What happened?
I got to put the names in.
Oh, gotcha.
I didn't do a simulation. But this is by Trash Night 420.
Oh, man. Anytime a designer has 420 in their name, I know it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, you know they had a good time designing.
They spent
this
a lot of time cranking out, like a lot of hours have been done on the marble track creator for it. So shout out to Trash Night 420. This is the Flying Sparkle Race, a new track, everybody. We've got 279 marbles in the hopper. May the best marble win. Let's drop them and check out this track on WST. All right, down through a big cylinder to start it off. Very uniform start. Looks like Winnipeg Chaster is the top one on the end. We'll see what the first marble that comes into focus as we get down into this a thinner two. Holy smokes. Everyone is together. Physics-based games. They're probably bouncing each other out. Who's coming down first? Sawaz. Sheldon. This is weird that they screwed up the... like, we've got all these weird, the full ats of everyone's name for the first time this week. I know that happened on EST about a month ago. And it finally got it to us. Wild group. We've got a couple top ropes. Michael Prudden's out first on the left side. Who's coming in first? We've got Thor Train 204. I think there's some names that are a little different. Wesley Falls. Northside Sandwich, who is a proud member of the EST crew. We still have yet to have an EST winner, but there's been a few close calls. But right now, Wesley Falls and Isha Boy Bruce. Bruce just won about a month ago as well. Evan H. 40. Kasperi Kapanen. Look at Kasperi Kapanen popping in. Yeah, I guess technically he'd be an ES tier. Now there's a bunch of, I see Hustler there. Are You Ready? Has now gotten onto the bottom. Are You Ready? And Henry 12. Kasperi Kapanen. Wesley's right there, but it's Henry _12 right now. The heck is at the end? Henry 12 plus 4C?
J4C, yeah. So YouTube pushed an update where you're using your YouTube handle. It's terrible.
Can we change that back? Can you give some feedback to them? We like the names back to where they were.
It's much cleaner chat.
Henry right now is slowing down a little bit. Who's on his ass? It looks like Are You Ready? And Wesley Falls, Duck Dad, and the 55-yard line. The 55-yard line in the mix right now. Henry, though, looking really good. Jumping in. I'm not sure whether this is the end or whether there's a big jump. And it is up into the air. I think this is going in. And yes, Henry 12 JFC is our winner. Let's see. Ooh, Duck Dad and Adam Lowry just got dropped off. Lowry, it would have been nice to see him with a nice start. The 55-yard line in second. Disgruntled Wheat, third. Justin Fung, fourth. Rob Wright, 5. Jesse P, 33, sixth. Missing Monk, 7. Biroon, 8. Wesley Falls had a nice run. He finished 9th. And number 10 is K6000. W9T. Lots of eliminations right now. Everyone else coming in. We will go through. I know many of you, myself included, have side bets with friends as to where you'll finish in the marble race. So we will go through the standings. But the winner is Henry 12. Henry, send us an email, winnipegsportstalk@gmail.com. Let us know your size, and I'll hit you up next week. And you can come by and pop by and pick it up. Shout out to Mike Cochran, who won a couple weeks ago, and making it happen. All right. So there we go. There's our top 10, as we mentioned. We got Jeff Sudi, Frosty Winnipeg, Radchenka, Kasperi Kapanen, top 20. There's Tyson, Northside Sandwich as well. WST Maddie, Just sort of go slow because people may have to just go through. It's hard to even read these all as we get through. Geez, I was looking good. I must have gotten top roped at the end. Thomas Milic gets the finish. Nicely done, Thomas. There's Schickster. What's up, Schickster? Maybe you'll see it. Oh, I did finish. There we go. 71st. Not bad. There's Manny Fran. Trickstar. XYP Kyle. That might be all caps Kyle because it was all caps. Dave Jameson. Could that be the famous David Jameson of Edmonton Sports Media? Not sure. There's Steph Bodette. There's Candace. Jen Cool. There's another lock shopper. What's up, Jen? Rip City Step. What else do we got here? There's Cowboy. Trevor Red Ranger. There's Bozeman. Bozeman, I got you again, pal. Mark up another one for the Huss. At marble_race_winner. Not quite. We're actually third last, but I like the positivity. And then here's the rest of the list of everyone that did not finish the race, got top roped, burned by the fire, or something else. Adam Lowry, Duck Dad. There's the Jets Pope. Jets Pope and his boys are up in 316 tonight. Look forward to seeing you there, my man. That's going to do it for us. Well, very, very busy show today. That's why we went till 3:30. We do want to get it up right away, though, so people can listen before the game. So with that, we'll finish it up. Again, if you're going to the game with the WST ticket and you want to get in early, go to the Hargrave doors, like coming out of City Place on the second level. The early spot is the craft beer corner outside of section 311 or 310 or 311. And probably just before the game and at intermissions, the hangar bar right outside section 316 would be a bit of an HQ for the Winnipeg Sports Talk gang. Get well soon, Helly. Good luck, Eric Comrie. Let's have a weekend. We didn't even mention the Wild game on Sunday, but get ready for that one and hear all about tonight's game Sunday morning with Connor and Liss with WST Sunday Live. Big thanks to all of our sponsors and all of you for hanging out with us today. Folks, have a great weekend. Enjoy the game tonight and on Sunday afternoon. And we will see you Monday right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Have a great one.
Oh, my God. Oh! Shut it down. Let's go home.
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.